In this video, I'm going to teach you absolutely everything you need to know to make your first $1,000 selling books on Amazon without being an author. I'll walk you through the entire Amazon KDP process step by step, from how this business model actually works, to researching what books to make, to actually making these books, to uploading them to Amazon itself, how to get reviews on your books, how to properly market them. So even if you're a complete beginner, by the end of this video, you'll have absolutely everything you need to start building a successful Amazon KDP business in 2026 and beyond. Now, I've personally been self-publishing these books on Amazon KDP for over 5 years now. Started out as a complete beginner, just like you watching this video, and I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars from this business model. And I know what you're thinking. Here's just another person who's talking about how much money he's made online. He's not only probably lying, but he's also not being able to relate at all to my situation as a beginner anyway. Well, firstly, I'm not lying, and in this video, you'll see complete proof of all of that. And secondly, I understand that for a lot of people, it's not about going straight into all of these things that involve in making $100,000 from a business model like this, because that can be extremely overwhelming, especially if you're a beginner. What you want instead is just to know how to go from zero to that first $1,000 mark. Because once you've made your first $1,000, the second becomes even easier, the next 10,000 becomes easier, and then eventually the 100,000 becomes even easier than that, making that first 1,000, because you just repeat the same steps that you're already familiar with at scale. So yes, this video has been designed to make that journey from zero to your first $1,000 self-publishing books on Amazon KDP as simple and easy to understand as possible. And if you do have any questions at any point, you can just let me know down in the comment section below, and I will answer every single one of them. I've also put chapters of this entire video down below, so if you want to skip through and find the parts that you're interested in and you specifically need a bit more help with, then you can also do that extremely easily. So with all that said, let's jump straight in with the first section of this video. Now, before we do any of this, the first thing you need to do is to go ahead and create your Amazon KDP account. Now, I can't actually show you this because I already have one, and you're only allowed one Amazon KDP account per person. So I can't walk you through it on screen, but what I have done is created a document that I'll leave linked down below in the description. As you can see on screen here, it just walks you through absolutely everything that you need to do to actually create your Amazon KDP account. It's pretty straightforward, but a couple of people have some issues with it. They find it a little bit confusing, but if you check out that link down below in the description, it will walk you through absolutely everything that you need to do to create your KDP account. So for the first part of this video, I'm just going to go through some foundational stuff, explain a little bit more about me and my experience, exactly what the Amazon KDP business model is, and how you can get the most out of it. This is actually really, really important. You might be tempted to skip this bit. Please watch this because it's going to set the foundation for the rest of the entire video and ultimately your Amazon KDP business. So how to start Amazon KDP in 2026 and beyond and actually be successful with it. So firstly, why should you listen to me? I mentioned it earlier in the intro, but I've built 2 successful Amazon KDP businesses, generating over $300,000 in book royalties and $900,000 in book sales. And this ultimately allowed me to quit my job, and I moved to Bali in 2022, and I've now complete location freedom and can work from wherever I want to in the world, whenever I want to, which for me was a complete dream when I first started Amazon KDP and uploaded my first ever book. So I just want to show you, this is not me flexing, this is me just showing you how possible this is. I'm nothing special. I'm exactly like you are. I just did exactly what I'm going to show you in this video, worked hard, and it has all paid off for me. And there's no reason why it can't do the same for you. And just some proof of the money that I'm talking about that I have actually made here, just some screenshots from my Amazon KDP account. As you can see on my first ever Amazon KDP account, made over £129,000 worth of royalties. That included making over £32,000 from a single book. I then wanted to prove that this wasn't just luck and I could do it again completely from scratch. So I took a brand new Amazon KDP account from $0 to $24,000 in royalties in just 9 months. Again, within that, I made £8,500 from just 2 books in their first 3 months. And I also made just under £11,000 worth of royalties in 13 days. So yeah, I have actually been there and done it. I'm not one of these people who makes their living selling courses and teaching people how to do something they haven't actually done. I've been there, done it. I've got the royalties to prove it. And that's why I'm in a position to be able to teach you something like this that you're about to see in this video. And for just some extremely recent and even more proof, this is my actual Amazon KDP dashboard. As you can see, last month was December the 1st to December the 31st, 2025 at the time of recording. I made $18,789.49. I'm not faking this. This isn't a screenshot. This is my actual dashboard. As you can see, things can change. I can change all of this information here. This is actually my dashboard. I made over $18,000 from Amazon KDP last month. Now, for some people watching this will be the goal, something like $18,000 in a month from KDP. Some people might just want an extra $1,000, couple $100. Everyone has completely different goals, so don't feel like you have to be someone, that's hitting numbers like this. And ultimately, if you do want to be someone who's hitting, 5-figure months like this, you first have to understand that before you can get to anything like $18,000 in a month, you first need to understand how to make your first $1,000, because once you understand that, and as I said in the intro, that's the hardest milestone to hit. Once you hit that, it's just a case of repeating and scaling the same systems over again until you get to a point like this. And that first $1,000 mark and how to hit that is exactly what I'm going to show you in this entire video. Now, moving on to the next part of this intro video, this is going to be mainly for people who are completely new to Amazon KDP. So if you have had a little bit of experience, just look at the time bar below. You can kind of skip ahead a couple of minutes if you want to go through this, but I do recommend everyone goes through it because it is a really good refresher. I'm going to tell you exactly what Amazon KDP is and how it works as a business model. So what is Amazon KDP? Amazon KDP just stands for Kindle Direct Publishing and is Amazon's very own self-publishing platform that allows anyone in the world to create and sell books on Amazon. Now, we are selling physical books, so actual books you can physically hold, but because it's what we call a print-on-demand business model, we only ever create online versions of these books. Now, here's exactly how that works if you're a little bit confused. As I say, we're going to be producing digital versions of physical books that actually get printed on demand. So print on demand basically means as soon as someone makes an order, at that point, Amazon will physically print it and send it out to the customer. And here's a step-by-step of exactly how that works. So step one, you make a book interior file and a book cover file. These are basically just two PDF files. You then go ahead and upload those to Amazon. You choose your price, you put your title. I'll cover all of this in significant detail in this video. I'm just giving you a quick run through of the entire process. So you make two PDF files. You then upload them to Amazon through Amazon's own portal. That will get listed on Amazon just like any other listing. You'll have Prime delivery, all of that kind of stuff. So you're just uploading the PDF versions that will eventually get printed and sold to a customer. So when someone buys your book on Amazon, at that point, Amazon will then print it, they'll ship it to the customer, and then you'll just take between a 50 and 60% cut of the sale price minus printing costs. So it works out to be a 30 to 40% margin. So if you sell a book for, let's just say $10, you'll make roughly $3 to $4 on that book. So that's pretty good royalty and margin, considering you don't actually do anything beyond uploading the book. Amazon deals with all the printing. You have no overheads, no logistics to have to worry about. So there's so many big benefits of having an Amazon KDP business. Now, here are the three main big benefits of it. Firstly, as I just mentioned, you never actually touch a book. Amazon does absolutely everything for you. So we are making physical books, but Amazon are the only ones who are actually printing it and dealing with all the shipping to the customer. You literally upload it, sit back, and then just get paid every single time someone buys your book. And because of that, you hardly need any money to get started with Amazon KDP. You haven't got to invest thousands into inventory or stock, thousands into like keeping it in a warehouse. Everything is done within Amazon. They take the hit and you just take this royalty of the book sale. And this ultimately means that you can operate your Amazon KDP business from literally anywhere in the world. You only need two things, a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection. So it is complete freedom. And in my opinion, I hate the word passive income, but this is pretty much as close as you're ever going to get to a passive income business model, because once your books are live, they're live forever, they're constantly selling. And even if you forget about them, people are still going to be buying them. Amazon are going to be printing them, sending them off, and you're just cashing in every single month. So that's why Amazon KDP, in my opinion, is the best business model that you can start. And I'm surprised that so many people haven't really got onto this before. Now, here's just an example of an Amazon KDP book. This isn't one of my books, but this is a really good example of what it looks like. So you upload a book to Amazon KDP. All they would have done is uploaded this cover file, which would be just a PDF. And then the interior of the book is just loads of pages like this. So it's just a simple coloring book. It's called Stress Relief Adult Coloring Book with Animals, Landscape, Flowers, Patterns, Mushroom, and many more for relaxation. It appears just like any other Amazon product listing. As you see, it has the price, has the title, has a description, has the images, and this is what an Amazon KDP book looks like. And just to show you how much you can make, this book is actually making over $20,000 every single month. They're making about $2 royalty per book sale, but because it is selling extremely well, they're selling something like 10,000 units of this book every single month, and therefore making $20,000 a month. They uploaded it in June 2023, haven't done anything since, and it's just constantly paying them every single month. So not every single book, of course, will make this amount of money. This is a massive outlier, but I'm just showing you what is potentially possible with Amazon KDP if you really put your mind to it. Even if you upload a book and it just makes you $500 a month, 10 of those is $5,000 in passive income every single month. So you've got to think about this as just stacking books on top of each other. And every now and then you will get a really high performing outlier. Maybe not quite as good as this one. Maybe you will. But this is just an example of showing you what is possible with Amazon KDP. And this does actually work. And I really want to stress home this important point of you do not need to be an author to be successful on Amazon KDP. All you need is a system for finding what books people are actually demanding, and then just create the best version of that book that meets that demand. So even though we are selling books, you don't need to have any interest in books, you don't need to be an author. You just need to find what people are actually searching for or what they're demanding, and then just create the best possible product that meets that demand using tools and a step-by-step process, which I'm going to show you in this video. So as I say, you need to have a system to follow with Amazon KDP. And in this video, I'm going to take through every single step of that system in significant detail so you know exactly what to do. But before I do that in this kind of foundational intro to the video, I'm going to go through this system very quickly and just show you roughly what you can expect from the upcoming video. So this is my winning Amazon KDP system, and it's the system I use to build my Amazon KDP businesses. So step one is what we call niche research. It's basically essentially researching on Amazon and using tools to identify where potential opportunities are. Step two then is all about creating the book. So a lot of people will just jump in and think, okay, the first thing you need to do obviously is create a book if you want to sell one. But actually before you even create the book, you need to do some research to know that the book you're creating people are actually going to buy. So step one is that research. Step two is therefore creating that book. And I'm going to show you how to use tools to create pretty much whatever kind of book best serves the opportunity that you found in the research. Step three is then all about optimizing your book listing. So uploading your book to Amazon, getting the right title, the good description, all those kind of things for your listing. Step four, you then need to get reviews on your book. This essentially provides social proof for your product and hugely increases sales. Human buying behavior is extremely driven by social proof. If you have a book and you don't have any reviews on there, it's going to be quite difficult to get people or to convince people to buy yours. So it's really important that you get a decent number of reviews on your book, because ultimately that will massively increase the conversion rate and the number of people who are going to buy it. And I'm going to show you in this video how to get reviews in your book without people even buying it completely legitimately and within Amazon's terms and conditions. Step five then, once you've got your reviews and your book is uploaded, it's all about advertising your book and just getting your book in front of many of the right people as possible. Emphasis on right people. It's not about just putting it out there and getting a load of people who aren't going to be interested to see your book, because that will cost you. But you can use Amazon ads strategically to just get your book in front of the right people who you think are more likely to buy your book than anybody else. And you can do exactly that by using Amazon ads, which I will show you later on this video. And then step six is simple as that. Just make money and repeat this same process over and over again for every single book. And you will build up loads of books that are generating you passive income every month. And that's how you start scaling, to your first $1,000 and beyond. So it's this exact system that I'm going to cover in significant detail in this video. So let's just jump straight into the first step, which is niche research. So step one, niche research. Essentially, how can you make sure you're researching correctly to ensure you're only creating books that people are actually going to buy? Now, this is the big mistake that most people make. By far, the biggest mistake most people make on Amazon KDP is just producing books that they think are going to sell well. For example, they'll have some great idea for a coloring book, make it, and then wonder why it's not making any sales. Because they haven't, and the reason why they haven't made any of those sales is because they haven't validated their great idea using data from Amazon. You have to remember, you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to people on Amazon. It doesn't really matter if you think it's a good book or you think it's a bad book. It's all about what potential customers think, because these are the ones who are going to be buying your book, not you. Now, this might seem like a really simple and obvious thing, but you'll be surprised how many people completely ignore the step, can't remove their ego from the situation, and just create books that they think are great. And then they come to people like me and say, my book's amazing, but it's not making any sales. Why is this? And I just say, well, because it's not amazing. You think it's amazing, but you haven't validated it by using any data. Everything you do with this business model needs to be data driven. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just a second. So here's exactly what you need to do instead. Now, the best KDP publishers, like I say, don't even think about creating a book until they know for sure that people are going to buy it. What's the point in spending all this time creating a book if you don't even know if people are going to buy it in the first place? So rather than just creating a book and then figuring out who to sell it to, you need to take a step back and you need to find what books people are actually demanding and searching for, and then make sure there isn't already too much competition for that already. And this is where my 3-step niche research process comes in. So my 3-step niche research process: firstly, you need to find out if people are actually demanding your book. You then need to see if these books are actually selling. So it's all well and good seeing if people are searching into Amazon, but are these books actually selling? Are people actually parting with their money and buying these books? Because if they're not, again, there's no point in making it. And then finally, you need to understand how to create the book using tools. Now, you might be interested in thinking here, well, there's nothing here that has anything to do with competition. Now, again, a lot of people will say you need to balance up demand and competition, and we are doing that. That's all about whether these books are selling. It's not a case of, there needs to be less than 3 books in a niche or less than 2 books, then it's therefore a good opportunity. It really doesn't work like that, because demand and competition are kind of relative to each other. If there is significant demand, you can get away with there being a little bit more competition because the demand is just so big. So a lot of people say things like, if there's 3 books in a niche, then it's too competitive or whatnot. That's just complete nonsense. Ultimately, if the books in that niche are selling, then it shows that there is enough demand relative to the competition already on Amazon. And I'll cover these 3 things in detail, starting with the first one, which is finding out if people are actually demanding your book. So as you can see, I'm now over on Amazon because this is the first step to take when it comes to finding potential opportunities and potential books to make. Now, in order to come up with a potential idea that you have to validate with data, you first need to start extremely broad. So all I've done is gone onto Amazon.com and just typed in coloring book. As you can see, there are over 70,000 results. So this is an extremely broad term. You don't want to just be creating a coloring book and then expecting it to sell. You need to be creating some kind of coloring book, or as we would say in KDP, some kind of coloring book niche. So for example, a self-love coloring book. Self-love is a niche of coloring book on Amazon KDP. Girl moment, so girl coloring book is another niche of Amazon KDP. So just have a look around and look for potential things that you might want to look into a little bit more. Ocean coloring book could be an example here. Now these are all a lot of them very similar looking. A pattern coloring book, so again, that's another niche within it. Simple art, bold and easy. Cozy coloring book, food and drinks coloring book. So let's just take this as the example: food, drinks and sweets, bold and easy coloring book. This book is actually, as you can see, it's got a bestseller badge, so it's actually selling quite well. We're not worried about validating how well books are selling yet. We are just looking for potential ideas to look into a bit further, because as I said, this first step is just about finding if people are actually demanding your book. So let's go down this potential avenue of food, drinks and sweets as an option. So we're just going to go back into Amazon here, and we're just going to type in food coloring book. And as you can see, this is kind of the first step to take. If you type in food coloring book into Amazon and have it on all, as you can see, there are loads of suggested, search terms off the back of this. Now, these are all search terms that people are searching into Amazon. Amazon know that a lot of people are searching for these search terms, and therefore it's going to put them as recommendations. So by typing in food coloring book, you can see how many variations of it for adults, for kids, bold and easy, simple, toddler, for teens, bold, easy. So people are definitely demanding food-related coloring books because they're searching them into Amazon. Now, this is all well and good, but unfortunately, we don't know how many people are searching in. So, 10 people might have searched in food coloring book simple, which is by no means enough demand to actually go ahead and create a book like this. So although we are getting, potential options and proof that people are searching around this idea of a food coloring book, we have absolutely no idea how many people are actually searching for it and if it's even a good opportunity or not. But that is where this brilliant and beginner-friendly tool comes in. It's a tool called Self-Publishing Titans. I will leave this link down below in the description. And what it basically allows you to do is enter in any kind of keyword search. We're going to go for food coloring book, as you can see here. Make sure it's on Amazon.com, then go ahead and press search. And what this is basically going to do is going to take all of these, suggestions that Amazon showed, but we don't have any data. We don't know whether or not 10 people are searching for this or 10,000 people. We've just got suggestions. We have absolutely no data behind any of this. But if you go to Self-Publishing Titans, all of this data suddenly becomes available. And it's an absolutely essential tool because, as I say, it gives you all of this data that we need. So you can see all of these suggestions: food coloring book for adults, food coloring book for kids, food coloring book, bold and easy. It essentially gives you different metrics. So I'll work through each of these one by one. Firstly, it gives you the search volume. So how many searches are roughly taking place for this search term every single month. So every month, 22,125 people are searching for food coloring book. 6,000 people are searching for food coloring book for adults, so on and so forth. Search results is then how many search results come up when someone types that in. This does not mean there's 5,234 food coloring books on there. Amazon will link anything to do with food or coloring. So for example, food coloring is a thing that you use in baking and cooking. I'm no expert, but it's something like that. A lot of these products will be something to do with food coloring, equipment or anything like that, because Amazon is just picking anything it can to be related to that keyword term. So this by no means says that there's 5,234 search results. Generally, the lower the number here, the better the opportunity. Now, that's kind of how these two numbers interact. But self-publishing titans make it super easy for you. They've got a demand score and they also give you an opportunity score. The opportunity score is basically the really important one because it essentially weighs up this balance between search volume and also search results to give you an overall opportunity score. So what you can simply do is go ahead and just sort this by opportunity score. It ranges from 1 to 9. So the fact that there's loads of 9s, 8s, and 7s here shows us there is a really good opportunity. Now, just to give a bit more context as to what these numbers mean, as I said just a second ago, the first step we need to do is to find if people are actually demanding our book. So when we go over to self-publishing titans, we've typed in food coloring book, you can see all of these different variations of food coloring book, and you can see exactly how many people are searching every single month. There are literally thousands and thousands of searches of food coloring book or loads of related searches to do with food coloring book, whether it's for adults, for kids, whether it's bold and easy, whether it's drinks and sweets, all that kind of thing. This is the only thing we're really looking at here. When it comes to the Amazon search bar, we do get these suggestions, but we have no idea if it's 10 searches a month, like I say, or 10,000. That data all comes from here. So now we've done this, we know for sure that there are people demanding these books because there is such a significant search volume. Now, Self-Publishing Titans is a paid tool. As you can see, the one you want to go for, or like I said, this is linked down below in the description, is the hobbyist plan. It's only $20 per month if you sign up monthly, or it's $15 per month if you use the yearly option. And there is a discount code below, which means you can get this even cheaper than $20 a month. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to invest $20 a month, but you have to understand this is a business. Any business requires some kind of investment, whether it's in stock, whether it's in advertising, whatever it is. This is only $20 a month, which is absolutely nothing when you consider how much value you're getting from all of that data that I just showed you. It's the difference between making books that are actually going to sell and just not spending any money and making books that don't sell. So you've got two options. You can either invest as little as $20 a month to get this data, and you're actually making books that are going to make you money, that can potentially make you way more than $20 a month back, or you can not spend any money, produce a load of books that no one's going to buy, and you're still stuck at square one the whole time. You ultimately want to make as much money as you possibly can from this business model, so you need to make sure you're not afraid to invest in tools and software that are going to allow you to do that. So that is the first step of this niche research done. We know that there are loads of people demanding some kind of food coloring book. The next step we need to do is to see if these books are actually selling. And a way to see if books are actually selling is by looking at something called a bestseller rank, or what we call a BSR. So if I just go into this book listing here, as you can see, food, drink, and sweets, coloring book for adults. If you scroll all the way down into the item description, every single book has what's called a bestseller rank. And this one, for example, is 641 in books. And this bestseller rank basically means it is the 641st best-selling book on the entire of Amazon. So the lower the bestseller rank is, the more units it is selling every day. So ideally, you want to have number one in books. That means you're the best-selling book on the entire of Amazon. And it's this BSR number that basically translates to how well a book is doing on Amazon and how much money it's actually making every single month. And the way you can do that is go to a BSR to sales calculator. Again, this is by Self-Publishing Titans, the tool I just showed you a second ago. If you just go ahead and type in the BSR number, so let's go for 641, go ahead and press calculate sales. It is estimated that if you have a book with a BSR or bestseller rank of 641, it is selling roughly 213 units every single day and 6,390 units every single month. So this food, drinks, and sweets coloring book is selling over 6,000 units every single month. So to understand, going back to here to see if these books are actually selling in the first place, it all comes down to looking at the BSR number, which stands for best seller rank number. So what I recommend you do when you're doing your niche research is go through all of these books and analyze what their bestseller rank numbers are. Because if there's loads of books that have low bestseller ranks, it means that people are actively buying them all of the time and they're generally making money. So not only are people demanding these food books, but people are actually not just demanding them, they're actually buying them as well, which ultimately is the second step we need for our niche research process. Now I'm going to show you a completely free tool that's going to make life so much easier for you when you do this. Rather than having to click into every single book listing you see, scroll all the way down here and find the bestseller rank, I have a Chrome extension that basically allows you to see the bestseller ranks without having to click into all of the books. So as you can see here, this food, drinks and sweets bold and easy coloring book is 641. This one here is 16,000. This one here is 845,000. This one here is 5,000. So it just saves you so much time not having to go in and, look at all the BSRs individually. This Chrome extension is called DS Amazon Quick View. I will also leave this link down below in the description. Completely free. Just go ahead and press add to Chrome. And then when you go back to Amazon, it will show up all of this information, which is really useful for you. So we know that the BSR number is the number that's going to show us how much, books are actually selling for. How do we know, what a BSR number actually translates to into sales? Now we first check this one here of 641. When you're searching on Amazon.com, so I always do my niche research on Amazon.com, that's the Amazon US store. Generally say any book that has a BSR of less than 50,000 is generally selling pretty well. So this one here, 16,025 is also selling pretty well. So food and snacks coloring book. So 16,025, we're going to go back over to this calculator, 16,025. Go ahead and press calculate sales. A book with a bestseller rank of 16,025 sells roughly 18 units a day and 540 units a month. So let's just say this book is making, $2-3 per book sale. It is making between $1,000 and $1,500 every single month in passive income. And this is definitely a very achievable BSR. Now, when it comes to understanding if books in a potential niche are actually selling, if you type in something like food coloring book, and all of these books have BSRs of like 845,038. If I just go ahead and put this into here, 845,000, just go ahead and put that in. As you can say, this book is selling less than 1 unit every day. So this is hardly making any money at all. This book, and the reason why, without going into too much detail, they haven't got any reviews on it. They're just trying to copy what everyone else is doing, and they haven't found their own avenue within this niche. Now I'll go over that in just a bit more detail in just a second. But let's just say, for example, all of these food coloring books had a really high BSR like this one. That would be a sign that yes, there's loads of food coloring books, but no one's actually buying them, in which case that would be a red flag and we would stop this and try and look for another book. But when you see here the actual information, as you can see, this one's absolutely flying. This one's doing really well. This one's doing brilliantly as well, 5,308. What else have we got? 65,000. Not great, but not terrible. Let's go back in here and type in 65,000. This book is selling roughly 5 units a day. And again, 150 per month. If you're making, $2 or $3 per book, that's about $500 every single month that you're making in passive income. So don't necessarily aim for the home run every time. It's going to slowly take time. And if you get something like a 65,000 BSR, for a lot of people, an extra $500 a month from one book is really, really good. So again, that's a sign that these books are selling. 39,000, 79,000. So as you can see, a lot of these food coloring books are actually selling. So now that we know there is demand for this book, we've seen in self-publishing titles that there's thousands of searches every single month for this book. We've secondly seen that these books are actually selling well because we've assessed the bestseller ranks of all of these books. As you can see, these ones selling really well. That shows that people are prepared to invest in a food coloring book. We now need to make sure that we're producing a book that people are actually going to buy. And this is the mistake that so many people make. So many people will look at this and think, okay, this one, 641 in books, 6,000 in books, 5,000 in books. All I'm going to do is go ahead and copy the same thing, upload it to Amazon, and then I'm surely going to make the same amount of money. That's just not the case, because if I just came in and uploaded a food and snacks coloring book, bold and easy, and I put mine up, this one has got 1,400 reviews. So in terms of social proof, if I just release a book and it has either no reviews or 1 or 2 reviews, which one are they going to buy? Are they going to buy mine? or are they going to buy this one? Even if mine is cheaper, they're going to go ahead and buy this one. This food and snacks coloring book is already established. And that's exactly why, as you can see this one here, food and snacks coloring book, even though they've massively undercut them at £3.53, which means they're making pretty much, pennies every single time they make a sale, this book still isn't selling anywhere near as well because people would rather spend a little bit more money and get one that they know is going to be good. So this is getting all the sales and this one is hardly making any money. So the thing you don't want to do is see a book that's selling well and then just go ahead and copy it. What you actually need to do instead is understand exactly what's going on here. People are searching for food coloring books and people are buying food coloring books. The next step is how can we find our own space within this overall niche of coloring books to potentially make. So rather than just copying what everybody else is doing and making a book that's not going to sell, there's a couple of things we need to do. Firstly, we need to have our very own unique proposition. So our book firstly needs to look different to all of these ones. If we just make one that looks the same, ours is never going to catch anyone's eye. The book itself also needs to be a different kind of thing. As you can see, all of these books here, all they are is simply just food designs. Super simple, super basic. This is literally just grapes. And we also need to finally create a significantly better product. Those are the three things that we need to check off. It needs to be different, it needs to look different, and it needs to be a significantly better product. So the idea I've got for this is to make a food coloring book, but as you can see on screen, I'm going to make a food coloring book that also has funny food-related puns in it. So not only is it a completely different proposition to every single food coloring book already on there, you're not just getting basic, boring designs like this, you've also got text to color in, and it's just a little bit more humorous, a little bit more lighthearted than just coloring a load of images of fruit. So the strategy we're basically doing is we're taking all of this demand from food coloring and diverting it into our very own kind of area where no one else is competing against us. We're still getting all of this demand. We're just providing a brand new and unique book for people who want to go ahead and buy it. So if someone's now browsing to buy a food related coloring book, then you look at all of these look the same. And then bam, they're going to see ours, which looks completely different. And it's not just coloring food, it's coloring in quotes. And it's also funny quotes that's going to make them laugh. A significantly better product for their money. So that's kind of how you need to see it. Don't just copy what's working. A lot of people say that and it's just absolutely terrible advice. You need to make the most of all this demand that's coming in, create your own blue ocean, your own opportunity where you've got your own unique product that's significantly better quality and is a better offer for the customer. And you're getting the same amount of traffic from people searching food coloring book. And there's just significantly less competition because while everyone else is battling it out, making books that are exactly the same, you've got your very own unique angle to it. So those are the steps you need to take to make sure you're researching correctly and only creating books that you know are actually going to sell well. So in summary, you essentially need to start quite broad, find potential niches to go into. So the example we looked at was food coloring book. Type that idea into self-publishing Titans to see how many people are searching for that search term along with loads of other related search terms every single month. Once you know that thousands of people are searching for every month, you know there is demand for some kind of food coloring book. You then need to go onto Amazon to assess how well the competition is already selling. If competition isn't selling any units at all, guess what? You're probably not going to sell any either. But the fact that we checked and there were books that were selling really well shows that people are not just searching for food coloring books, they are also buying them. But we crucially don't want to just make a food coloring book like everybody else because people are going to buy the ones that are already existing. We need to take this demand and this traffic and funnel it into our very own kind of unique packaging, which is exactly what we're doing with a food coloring book, but ours instead is going to include funny quotes that's not only going to make people laugh, it's going to give them more to color in and just give us a significantly better product than just the basic designs of, an avocado or, a bunch of grapes on a piece of paper. So ours is going to be a significantly better product and crucially a unique product. So the next step in this process is the fun bit, and that's actually creating your book. So creating your KDP book. There are many different types of books you can make on Amazon KDP. However, as a beginner, I suggest you start with coloring books. There are alternative things you can make. You can make like blank line journals. You can make actual high content book, with 30,000 word fiction and non-fiction. The reason why I don't recommend you do that as a beginner, it's very, very expensive to do. It can cost you, upwards of $500 to $1,000 just to get one of those books created. In terms of notebooks, yes, they're a little bit easier to make, but trust me, you're not going to sell any notebooks on Amazon KDP in 2026 and beyond. There are so many people online saying, make a load of these notebooks and have funny front covers and you'll make a load of money. If you want to do that, you are just going to waste your time. You're not going to sell anything. They used to work way back in, 2018, 2019, 2020. They don't work anymore, which is why I recommend coloring books, because they are the best in between for a beginner, where they're really not that expensive at all to make, and you can still make a lot of money from them. And a lot of people will say, coloring books are dead, stop listening to people. This is literally a coloring book that I have on my own Amazon KDP account. I made it in January 2025, and it has sold over $13,000 in its first year. Yes, there are some coloring books that won't sell, but that's why that research I've just shown you in the first part of the video is so important, to make sure you're only making books that do sell. All of these people that say, coloring books don't work anymore, everyone's just kind of lying about how successful they are, is because they're just uploading any kind of coloring book and they don't have any kind of strategy to it. This is literally an example of a coloring book that I made. As I say, it's done over $13,000 in its first year. So yes, coloring books do absolutely work, and in my opinion, they are the best books for beginners because A, they're cheap to make, B, you can make loads of them very easily, and C, the more books you upload, the more you're just gonna learn by doing on Amazon KDP, rather than making a book, once every 2 months, and you're just learning really, really slowly. And you can actually make money from them. So as a beginner, I would recommend sticking to coloring books. Now, creating your KDP book, now you have to understand that even if you've done your research correctly, your book still needs to be high quality to sell. So even if you find a really good niche that we've just found there, if our book is low quality, we're not selling to robots, people aren't going to buy it. So you need to have good research and also a high quality book. Now for coloring books, the tool I recommend that you use is a tool called Kittle. It's, in my opinion, far and away the best tool that you can use to create coloring books to sell on Amazon KDP. Not only is it one of the most affordable tools on the market, it's also extremely user-friendly, and the quality of the images are way beyond any other image generator I've used on Amazon KDP, and to be honest, outside of Amazon KDP. And there's loads of really intricate features that basically mean you can have complete control over exactly what your images look like, which things like ChatGPT and Midjourney just don't allow you to do. Now, Kittle is, again, a paid tool, but as you can see, it's only £15 per month if you go for the yearly option. There is a free option. However, you are very limited with how many projects you can have, and you hardly have any AI image generation tokens. So I do recommend you go for the pro version, because you're just not really going to have enough credits to actually make a book. But with the pro version, you get 2,000 AI credits, which is easily enough per month to make multiple different coloring books, all for just one monthly fee of only £15. And if you do actually use the discount code that you can see on screen, you also get a 25% discount off Kittle to make this even more affordable for you. And just to show you how good of an investment this is, if you think this is only £15 per month for Kittle, and you can create literally as many coloring pages as you want every single month for only £15. If you were to go ahead and outsource this to, an illustrator or something like that, which is what you would have had to do before a tool like Kittle, as you can see, one coloring page with one character is going to be £11 per image. So if you have a 100 image book, it's going to cost you over £1,000 to get it made from an illustrator. But when you use Kittle, it's going to cost you literally £15. So the amount you save by using this tool is absolutely ridiculous versus what you would have previously had to pay for a freelancer. So again, don't see this as a cost, see this as an investment that's going to allow you to create really high quality books that are going to make you more sales, make you more money, and easily pay for a tool like this. Now you can, if you want to, go for the expert for even more AI credits. Of course, the more AI credits you have, the better. But I would generally say, especially if you're a beginner, just stick to the pro version, because there is easily enough in there for what you need. As I say, the free version just doesn't really have enough. So what I'm going to do now is just show you a quick run through of Kittle and show you some of the features that you can use. Then after this, I'm going to go into a step-by-step tutorial of exactly how to bring a KDP coloring book to life from scratch using this exact software. So this is Kittle, and this is where all of your designs for your Amazon KDP business are going to come to life, both your actual book interior, but also your book front and back cover files. As I say, I'm going to show you a complete step-by-step tutorial of exactly how to do that in just a second, but I'm just going to introduce you to some of the features here now. So essentially, this is how Kittle looks. If you go up to, this is basically just called a board. You can duplicate this. This is another board. So this is going to be one page. This can be another. But as I say, I'll cover that in significant detail in just a second. Now, the main thing with Kittle is its AI image generation. So let's just say, for example, we wanted to create a coloring page of a dog wearing a hat. All you would need to do is go down to this box here and then just type in something like black and white coloring page of a cute dog wearing a hat, because that's basically what we want it to make. You can go So for different kind of image generations here, I personally think the Flux 2 Pro HD is the best one, but you can also use Google Image Gen 4, which is also a really good one. But just have a play around and see which one you prefer. I'm going to stick to Flux 2 Pro HD for this one. It sounds super complicated, but just use one of those two options. And then you can either generate one image or you can generate 4 images. So let's go ahead and generate 4 images and see which of those is the best. So we just type in black and white coloring page of a cute dog wearing a hat. Go ahead and press generate. And as you can see, it's going to go ahead and generate 4 of these different images. They're going to be slightly different to each other, but then they're going to be 4 options for us to choose, and we can just choose the best one that we want for our book. So as you can see, there are 4 different designs here, and it's completely personal preference which one you want to go for. For the example here, let's just go for this third one. I think this is the best one for us to use. You can literally just go ahead and drop that into your canvas, and all of a sudden you have a coloring page that you can literally put into your coloring book. That has literally taken us less than 30 seconds to do. And as you can see, would have cost us £11 just to have this image drawn by an illustrator like this, which is actually nowhere near as good. And ours is way more affordable too. And where Kittle just completely comes into its own as well is it's what's called its smartboard feature. So let's just say this was our initial design. We wanted to add a few more things to it. We generally wanted to keep what the design was here, but we wanted to add maybe some backgrounds, maybe some extra details while keeping exactly the same style here. Well, that's exactly what you can do. If you just go up to this box here where it says standard, go ahead and press smartboard. And what this basically does is this smartboard will read this initial design and then combine it with your prompt to add in extra details. So we can just say add in some grass and some bones and some dog bones in the background. Go ahead and just press generate. What it's going to do is use Nano Banana, which is one of the most powerful image kind of manipulation AI tools out there, to generate the image that we're looking for. So we're taking this one and we've just said, add in some grass and some dog bones in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and press generate. And as you can see, it has generated this image. Now it's actually not done what exactly we want to. That's kind of my fault because I've not prompted it correctly, because it's put some of the grass in the background here. But I basically said, add in some grass and some dog bones in the background. So that's reading it as saying, add some grass to the background. So I'm going to say, add some grass to the floor and some floating dog bones in the background. Go ahead and press generate again, and it's going to redo that image with a better prompt. So you do need to prompt it correctly. You need to be quite specific with what you're doing, but when you do that, it can create a really good design. So as you can see, that's exactly what it's done. It's kept our initial design here. It's added in some grass on the floor and also some floating bones in the background. So you can literally have a play around and do whatever you want to with these images. Let's just say we were happy with this image and that's the one we wanted to go for. We would then have this for our coloring book. So as I say, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just a sec when building it out fully. But just to show you what this is capable of even more, let's just say we take this initial design here and we want to just say, change the dog into a cat. Let's just say we made a coloring book that was animals wearing hats, for example. Our first image can be a dog wearing a hat, and the next one we want to have a cat wearing a hat. What we've done, we've just said, change the dog into a cat. And as you can see, it's exactly the same style of drawing. We just have a cat in a hat instead. So there is literally so much you can do. There is no other tool on the market that can even do this, let alone for anywhere near the price that you can do this for. So Kittle is by far the best tool when it comes to creating AI coloring books. And not only can you do this for the book interior, you can also do it for book covers too. So if you have an existing book cover of your own that you want to change a few of the images to, or you want to keep the same style but make it a different kind of book, you can do exactly that. So as you can see, I uploaded this book cover that I made personally as one of my books, and I wanted to create a food coloring book but keep the same style. So all I did was upload this initial image of my coloring book cover. I then went into and added a smartboard and just said, keep the same style, but make it a cute food coloring book for adults, and replace the animal elements with food elements, which as you can see is exactly what it's done. However, it hasn't quite done it properly because this hasn't changed this cat at the top, but it has changed everything else. So I then went in, pressed this smartboard here, and then just press smartboard again to create another one. And I've just said, replace the cat with another food item and make the text a little bit bigger, which is exactly what it's done. The cat is now gone and is now replaced with a piece of sushi. So it's not always going to be perfect first time around. You do just have to keep prompting it a little bit and just make sure you're very specific with your prompts. So that generated me this book cover. I've then gone into here and just said, make the background pink. So keep everything else the same and just make it a pink background. And all of a sudden we've gone from this initial design, kept everything exactly the same, and we've just turned it into a cute food coloring book for adults and updated everything. Now that's an extremely powerful feature of Kittle that absolutely no one else has. So that's a very quick introduction to what Kittle is, how you can use it for your book covers and also your book interior. I'm now going to go over to a completely new Kittle project and show you step by step exactly how to bring a full Amazon KDP book to life, the interior, the front cover, everything to do with the formatting, all using Kittle that you can then go ahead and upload to Amazon KDP. So now that we know we're going to make a food coloring book based around, some punny phrases and things that are just going to be a little bit more humorous than the current offerings on the market, how exactly do we go ahead and create this? Now, as you can see, I have already gone and made this book off camera. As you can see, all of these different designs, they're coloring themed pages with, kind of punny and funny phrases. So you better believe it with, some cake batter and a cool design to color in. Let us celebrate, holy guacamole with an avocado, a nacho problem with a cool nacho that you can color in. So we're not just creating food designs, we're creating funny designs, and you can also, color in the text, you can color in the other elements around it. So we are having a food coloring book, but we're completely in our own lane here, and we're not competing against anybody else. Everyone else is just creating exactly the same product as each other, competing against each other and getting no sales. We're still tapping into that really high demand niche, but we've completely made our own lane in it. So as you can just see, all of these cool designs that we've got for ourselves, these are all what we've made in this one file. So as you can see, all of these cool designs that are really high quality images and also exactly what we're trying to do with this book, I've made literally completely from scratch using AI, and here's exactly how I did it. So now I'm going to show you a step-by-step process of exactly how I've brought this coloring book to life using purely AI. Now, the actual tool we're going to be using to bring these images to life is a tool called Kittle. Now, I will leave Kittle linked down below in the description, along with a discount code that you can see on screen to get yourself 25% discount off it. It's by far one of the most affordable and powerful softwares you can have for an Amazon KDP business. And as you're about to see, can help you create books literally like this in less than an hour that you can then sell for hundreds of dollars on Amazon. And what's even more powerful is when you combine something like Kittle with ChatGPT to come up with all of these designs for you. Now, Kittle is kind of the power behind actually generating these images in the first place. And then you can either come up with these ideas yourself, these punny things, let us celebrate based around a lettuce, or holy guacamole based around an avocado. But I personally didn't even come up with these. I used ChatGPT to come up with these, and then literally got ChatGPT to create a prompt that I then put into Kittle that I then used to create these designs. This is exactly how I did it. So I literally just went into ChatGPT and sent in this image that I found online of exactly the kind of style that I'm looking for. I just said, I'm looking to make an adult coloring book that has funny phrases to go along with a coloring image. I've attached an example of the kind of design and style I want. The example of this phrase is what the fudge cookie, and another example would be donut mess with me, and another would be sit me baby one more time. These are just examples that I found online. Can you think of 10 more funny phrases like this that I can use in my coloring book? I will later ask you to come up with design ideas based off them. So as it said, here are some funny food phrases. So you better believe it, let us celebrate, holy guacamole. These are the ones that I then used in that design. A nacho problem, peas out, 2 peas in a pod giving peace signs. I then just said it's exactly what I'm looking for, so I absolutely love it. Can you help me create a prompt for DALL-E for the first idea? Now within Kittle, you can use loads of different image generation AIs. You can use DALL-E, you can use Google Image Gen, so it doesn't really matter which one you go for. But what I'm essentially doing here is I'm asking ChatGPT, great, I really like the fact that you've got all of these designs and there's exactly what I'm looking for. Can you give me a prompt that I can literally just put into Kittle and that's going to give me the design that I want? So that's exactly what I asked it for. And this is the prompt that it gave me. And I actually went down and said, there's actually a few more things that I need to color in the image. I don't just want one image. I kind of want some background elements that you can also color in. And then it gave me an even more updated prompt. And then it asked me if I want a repeatable template. I then just said, yes, I want a repeatable template where I can just go in, have exactly the same style consistently, but just change the design every single time. And what it did is it gave me this template here and the example for the image of you better believe it. I literally go ahead and copy this code. I then went over to Kittle AI, as you can see here, and I literally just copy and pasted this code in and then just press generate image. And this is the original image that it generated, but I've just run the same prompt here and it's got me a slightly different version of the image. Now, what you can do as well, if you don't like the original image, now, in my opinion, this one here is way better quality than this one here. You can go back into this prompt and just add in a few things. Now, for me, the background elements don't particularly look that great. So I'm going to go to here where it says add small decorative elements, sprinkle stars, hearts, whatever. And then at the end, just say, to fill background, just so it's going to add a few more of those to make the image look a little bit more, appealing and there's more going on in it. And now here is the updated design. So this one is significantly better than this one. There's just more going on to it with it. There's more elements that you can color in. I prefer this one a lot more to this, but it's all about just tinkering with this prompt until you kind of have one that you like. A lot of these, it got it right first time, but it sometimes does take a little bit of tweaking, but that's exactly how you would do that for the first design. Then once you've got this image, all you want to do is go down to this section here where it says artboard and then just draw yourself a rough artboard of what you want. Just going to be roughly square. And then you can change it to exactly the dimensions that you need for KDP. So we want to be producing an 8.5 by an 8.5 design because that's the size we're going to go for our book. We want it to be kind of like a square coloring book, and those dimensions for the interior are 8.5 by 8.5. And this will generate what's called an artboard. Now, all you need to do then is go ahead and drag your image into this artboard. And now you have an artboard that you can actually go in and export yourself. So to repeat this process, I would then move on to the next design. We're going to go ahead back into Kittle AI, get rid of this, and then just put in the letter celebrate here. We're actually going to go ahead and add in to fill background, just so it saves us having to do it again manually when we're not too happy with the original design. Go ahead and press generate image, and this should now give us our second image, which is going to be based around this let us celebrate pun. And as you can see, here is that second design that it's generated for us. Now again, we need to go ahead and make another artboard for this one. So I'll just draw this roughly around it and then go to this artboard by clicking artboard number at the top and then just making this 8.5 by 8.5 again, just like we did with the previous one. Go ahead and put this design in, and then that's our second page done. So all you need to do then is go ahead and just repeat this process until you have a file full of all of these different interiors. Now I actually went back into ChatGPT, and as you can see, it's giving me the prompts for pretty much all of these designs. It gives me 10 at a time. And then I just continue to ask ChatGPT to keep coming up with new ideas. So your one smart cookie along with a prompt for the exact design that I want. Same with this one, and it just keeps going down and down and down until you have 50 designs that you can use in your file. That's basically where all of these designs came from. Stay cool, sweet like honey, we're meant to be, you're my better half, too hot to handle. All of these ideas came from ChatGPT. The prompts came from ChatGPT, but the actual images themselves came from Kittle, where I now have this file that I can then download and use on Amazon KDP. Now, I do recommend if you're creating a book that you're going to sell on Amazon, you have at least 50 images that you can have in your book. Otherwise, the book will be too small. It's not going to be that satisfactory for the customer. You're probably going to get bad reviews. So I would say at least 50 designs is kind of your sweet spot here. So that's exactly what I did. I just continued to make more of these designs using exactly the process that I've just showed you until I had 50 designs ready for my book. And that is the book coloring interior completely done. We now need to move on to the book cover. Now, in order to make a book cover, you first of all need to get the dimensions right. So this is a little bit of the boring stuff. I'll leave this link down below in the description because this is basically Amazon KDP's very own calculator that gives you exactly the dimensions that you need for your book cover. So you just need to enter some book information here. We're going to go for binding type of paperback. The interior type, we're going to go for black and white. The paper type is white paper. The reading direction is left to right. And the measurement units is going to be in inches. And the trim size, like I said, is 8.5 by 8.5 inches. We're going to have 50 designs in there, including one page as an intro page. So 50 designs on every single right-hand page, every single left-hand page. We're just going to leave blank to prevent the colors bleeding through. So for every design, there's 2 pages. You'll see exactly what this looks like later. So our overall page count is going to be 101 because we have that one intro page, and then every left-hand page is just going to be completely blank. But even though it's blank, that still counts as a page. And then every right page is going to be a design. So 101 pages in total. Go ahead and just press calculate dimensions. And as you can see, it's going to have calculated all the dimensions for us. We then just want to go down to download template, and that's going to download this zip file of exactly a drag and drop template we can go ahead and just put into Kittle and use for our design. So when you're back in Kittle, just go over to this uploads file and then upload the file that you just downloaded, and then you can put it straight into your canvas. And then once you do that, it will look something like this. So this is exactly how we need our design to look. So as you can see, this is where the front cover is going to go, this is where the back cover is going to go, and this here is where the spine is going to be. Now, this has just been uploaded as an image in Kittle for now. So to make it something that we can actually go ahead and download later on, we again need to make another artboard. So just go down to this artboard button here, roughly drag it over the template. Again, it doesn't really matter too much as long as it's kind of roughly a similar size. Just move this slightly to the side. And as you can see, the dimensions that we're going to need for our artboard are 17.475 inches by 8.75 inches. So we're going to go back to this artboard here, zoom out a little bit just so we can keep that text in sight. Click on artboard and then go for 17.47. Now this only goes to 2 decimal places, but that's absolutely fine in this case. And then 8.75 inches as the height. And that's exactly the dimensions that we need for our KDP book cover. We're going to go ahead and put this template right into the top corner there. Drag it all the way down to the bottom, and now we have our template perfectly sitting within our artboard. And this is going to be the file that we export as our KDP front cover and our KDP back cover. Now, here are just 2 designs that I created off camera for this book. So they've got examples of exactly the images that we're going to be using, in our book as the front cover. So you can kind of make the front cover and back cover whatever you want to. Choose your favorite design or the design that you think kind of, represents the book the best. So the ones I've gone for here are Donut Ever Change and also Espresso Yourself. Now you can make multiple different variations of the front cover depending on which design you want, but I'm going to show you exactly how I made these now. And the first thing I did was start exactly from this position here. I just had this default artboard in here. And let's just take this first one, for example, of this Donut Ever Change. This is where Kittle kind of really comes into its own, because if you just go into the image that you created, you can go up to this thing that says Smartboard here. And what this basically is going to do is going to read this initial design here and kind of do whatever you want for it. So literally all I said with this one here, which is a smartboard that I made off camera, I literally just selected this one and said, color in this image. So all I did was I clicked here, I then pressed smartboard and I just said color in this image. And it's gone ahead and just colored in this design for me. Now, it's not going to be exactly the same design every single time. It's going to be a little bit different, but let's just say I wanted to change this text to, a yellow color rather than it being a blue. I could just say, now add a smartboard from this one. So basically how this works is you take an original image, you then create a variation of that. And then from this variation, you could then add another variation. So we've got a blue text here, change the text to yellow if you wanted to have a yellow text. And that's exactly what it's done here. And then let's just say again, we wanted to change the icing on the donut to blue. Let's just say we didn't want it to be a pink donut, but for some reason wanted it to be a blue donut. You can go ahead and change that. That's just me showing you, just how much variation you can have in all of these designs and literally bring it to life however you want to. And as far as I'm aware, there's no other tool on the market that allows you to have this level of customization, not only in your designs for your interior, but also the designs for your front cover. And again, as you can see, it's kept the yellow text, but it's changed the donut to being blue. Now, this is an extremely powerful tool if you want to try multiple different variations of your book cover. But let's just say that I wanted to use this design on my front cover. It actually currently is a smartboard. But if you click on the smartboard itself, you have this button that just says convert to image. And now that's going to just create an image for you based off that smartboard. And this is the image that we're going to use in our design. So we're going to go ahead and pull this all the way down. Let's go and find that cover that we had here. And we're just going to go ahead and drop this onto the front cover itself. Now the background can be entirely what you want to do. This is currently a white background, but I don't think that looks too good. So all you can do is click on the image and then just go to remove background. And that will just remove the entire background for you. Go up to this section here and then just go for a basic shape. And then you could just pull a shape in over the top. So let's go ahead and put this right in the middle of our design. Pull it all the way down to the bottom and then just send it backwards a little bit. You can actually do that by clicking these 3 buttons here. And then just press forward or backward or the shortcut on the keyboard that I just used. And then you can kind of have whatever color background you want. So this first design, I kind of had a cyan text with a yellow background. We've now got a slightly more blue text here. So let's have a play around and just see the kind of the colors that we like. So click onto here and then change this color and you'll be able to see the color change however you want to. So there's kind of a green background there. I think orange is probably going to look quite good against the blue text. So Donut Ever Change. You can have a color a little bit like this. So that's basically an example of using the image and then having a solid color background. You can go up to here and actually add it to either a linear gradient, or you can have it as a radial gradient. I quite like the radial gradients. So if you make this yellow on the end, push this all the way to the back, that's basically going to give us, it starts quite dark, but then comes out yellow in the end. I think dark looks pretty bad. So if we just make this a little bit whiter, just pull this all the way up to the top. As you can see now, rather than just having a solid yellow background, we have a little bit of kind of a radial gradient to it, which is exactly what I've done in this one here. So that's just an example of one front cover that you can do. You can change, the background color. You can change the actual image itself. Let's just say you wanted to make this background blue rather than yellow. So we're going to go ahead and change this yellow. Let's make this blue, something like that. The text doesn't really stand out too well, but that's an example of when you would go back to these designs here and just take a text that's maybe yellow or a different kind of color that's going to stand out better. Literally just go and convert this one into image, bring it all the way down to your design, take this one out, move this one into position, just go ahead and remove the background. And now we have a blue version of our front cover. So you can literally mix and match yourself. You can maybe upload something like this color scheme for a week, see how it does. If it's not selling too well, you can very easily go ahead and change the colors until you find a book cover that converts pretty well. You have complete flexibility and creativity of exactly what you want it to look like. And for this example book cover here, it's exactly the same process. I just chose a different design. So I decided to go for the espresso yourself because I think this kind of phrase speaks to a potential buyer a lot more when they're just browsing on Amazon. So we want this design to be the one that kind of stands out on the front of the book cover. Again, I literally just went ahead, clicked into this artboard here. It's important you don't click on the image because you're not going to get the smartboard option here. You need to click into the actual number right on the top left. I then just press smartboard here, which generated this smartboard. And I just said again, color in this image, and it gave me this. Now for me, this espresso cup was a little bit too dark. Obviously, the espresso itself is probably meant to be dark, but the cup should probably be a little bit lighter. So this was the original image it created me. I then just said, make the cup a little bit lighter, and that gave me this option here. And then I wanted to change the text. So I just said, make the text light red. And this is the final design that I got. I then just pressed convert to image, and that generated me this espresso yourself image that I then dragged down and added to the front of my book cover. And that's exactly how I made this one. Super easy and super straightforward to do. And now for the back cover of your overall book cover design. I actually don't think it's anywhere near as important as the front cover. You want to have a cool image on the front for sure. But the back image for a coloring book like this, you kind of have two options. You can either just show, the kind of images that you get inside the book itself, just in their raw form. So as you can see, all of these are just previous designs that I had before. So let's just say I wanted to take this olive you one, I love you, olive you is kind of what it's going for. We did literally just go ahead and press duplicate here, and that's going to basically make us a second version of this. Drag this all the way down to our file, and then you can just drop this on the back cover and kind of arrange it kind of as you want to. That is one option, or you can go for the second option here, which is where you have the colored in versions. I probably think this is going to be a little bit better because it just shows, the person, what the end result could be when they're coloring the images in. You can see the white background here with the white pages, but they can kind of design the actual image itself in whatever color that they want. And it's exactly the same process. Let's just take this jamming one. This is the design that I wanted to have on my back cover, but I wanted to have a colored in version. I just pressed smartboard. I went down to the smartboard that it generated, and again, just said color this image. And that is the image that it generated. I then just press convert to image and pull this all the way down and put this in my book file. And that is exactly how I made this coloring book. So in less than an hour, I literally went from zero with absolutely no ideas of what I wanted to do. I got all the phrases that I wanted in ChatGPT. I then got ChatGPT to create all of the different prompts for me. I then put all of the different prompts into Kittle to generate all of these different designs using their very own artboard. And that was my interior, literally done in hardly any time at all. And then I had to create the front cover for the book. So I did it as I showed you there. And I just wanted to have colored images of exactly the designs that you can expect in the book, but one of them to be on the front cover. And the easy way to do that is literally just go in to click on the image that you want, generate a smartboard, and then just literally say, color this image in, and then it literally just colors in the image in for you without you having to do anything else in a matter of seconds. Now, before a tool like Kittle existed, you'd have to outsource all of this work to Fiverr. As you can see, this person's got a gig that says, I will draw unique digital coloring pages for children one coloring page is £12 per image. So you're looking at around £600-700 to get 50 images created for a book like this. But with Kittle, it's less than $20 a month, and you can make as many of these designs as you want. And that's just the interior. When it comes to actually creating the book cover, you again need to outsource this. It's going to cost you hundreds of pounds and hundreds of dollars to do, but you can not only do it significantly quicker in Kittle, but for significantly less cost. So now we've got our interior images and our coloring pages completely done. We've also got our book cover completely done. There's only one final thing we need to do, and that is just introduce the book here, and then also have our color bleed through pages. So all you want to do to create this first cover here, again, I've just gone in, added in an artboard just like this, changed it to 8.5 by 8.5. So it's exactly the same size as the rest of the design. Popped it over here. I've then gone into this text here, just gone in and added a headline or add a paragraph. It doesn't really matter. And I've gone ahead and just typed in an intro page, because when you think about opening a book that you have from Amazon, the first page is always going to be a right-hand page, but we want all of our designs to be on the right-hand page and the left pages to be left blank for bleed through. So we're going to use that first initial right-hand page just to introduce the book and communicate with the customer a little bit. So I've just said, whether you're feeling great in yourself or if life's feeling a little too much at the moment, this coloring book has been designed to help you relax and escape the noise of the outside world. Immerse yourself in the coloring and the humor, give yourself some time to unwind, and use this as an opportunity to give yourself a break from whatever you're experiencing in life. You've got this, because the sort of person that's going to be looking to buy a book like this is buying it because they want to just kind of detach from the noise of the outside world. They probably might have a little bit of anxiety. They want to have just a little bit of stress relief and forget about everything and just immerse themselves in the coloring. Being able to speak exactly to your ideal customer on the first page just adds so much more credibility to your book. So that's what the first page is going to look like. Then the first left-hand page here is just going to be a note that says, all left pages in this book have been left blank to prevent color bleed through. I then said, feel free to leave them blank, or you're welcome to test colors or create your own doodles if you wish. Because if you put every single left page with just a bit of text there, I've sometimes had bad reviews from people saying, I wish you just told me that on the first page and then left all of them blank, and then they can kind of create doodles or test their colors or whatever it is they want to do. So all I'm doing is just having this one page at the start that tells them why every single left page is going to be left blank. And you might have noticed that I haven't actually included those blank pages in this design here, because we're going to go ahead and do that in just a second in a way that's way quicker than doing it manually in Kittle. So we're happy with all of the designs that we want. To actually export this into a design that we can upload to Amazon, all you want to do is go ahead and press this button here, then go down to PDF, and then combine all artboards into one file. So it's going to download all of these into one file. And if we're just doing the interior, we want to make sure we go all the way down and unclick the images that we created that we're not going to have in our interior. These were all just made for the book cover itself. So we're going to go ahead and deselect all of these. And then that leaves us with 52 artboards. So we have our 50 designs. We then have our one, color bleed through page. And then we also have our one intro page, 52 pages. Then what I recommend you do is actually increase the DPI to 300. That's what we're going to go for here. Optimize quality, and then just go ahead and press download. And then that's going to go ahead and download a file with all of these images in. That we need to do one other thing before we can then upload it to Amazon KDP. And that is go to a merge PDF tool online. These are completely free. I'll leave this one linked down below in the description as well. Go ahead and just select the PDF file that you just downloaded from Kittle. And it's just going to come out in a way that's super easy to organize. Now, for some reason, when you export from Kittle, it is a little bit clunky. The exporting is a little bit random. I haven't quite got my head around it, but this is just such an easy solution to any of that. And it literally takes, less than a minute to do. Go ahead and then just put everything in order. So this is the first page that we want. We then want our first left page to be this bleed through text. Then we have our designs. We're going to go ahead and after every single design, just go in and add a blank page after it. And this is exactly what our design will look like. So every single coloring image is going to be on the right-hand page. Then we're going to have a left one with just either blank or with this message here. So left page, right page, left page, right page. And you can go ahead and order these images in whatever you want to. So it doesn't really matter if it's a book like this because there's no chronological order to it. So, but if you wanted to have this spill the tea one instead of here, you can move that down there and then just move this ketchup one there. Completely depends, the order that you want, but I'm happy with this for this example. Then just go ahead and press organize. It's going to download this PDF for you. And then that is the file that you're going to go ahead and upload to Amazon KDP as your interior. Then the book cover is a lot more straightforward. Go back into your Kittle board again, go down to this export button. And then rather than selecting all artboards, the only one we want to actually export is this artboard 60. So just go all the way down until you can find the Artboard 60, which is this one here. Download it as a PDF, optimized background. Again, just go ahead and press download. And then here is that exact book cover that you can go ahead and upload straight to Amazon KDP. So up to this point, we've understood what Amazon KDP is. We've done our research to know exactly what book we're making. We've used Kittle to go ahead and actually bring that book to life. The next step is actually uploading that book to Amazon. So to upload your Amazon KDP book, all you want to do is go to your Amazon KDP dashboard. That's kdp.amazon.com. And then go ahead and just press create new title or series. And what we're doing is we're going to be creating a physical book. So we're going to be creating paperback. So just go ahead and press create paperback. And that will then take you to this screen. Now there's 3 tabs you need to do to go ahead and actually upload your book. The first one is the paperback details. So put in your book title and subtitle, your author name you also need to put in. You need to add in a book description, add, publishing rights. You do have that primary audience. I'll work through all of these one by one as we go through. Now, the first thing you need to do is your book title. Now, this is actually very, very important because the book title is one of the strongest ways of ranking organically on Amazon KDP, because you want to make sure you have really good keywords that have really high search volume in your title, because if you have those in your title, Amazon are going to know what book it is and they're going to push it to the right people. So again, you want to make sure your book title describes the book that you've got. It actually makes sense, but it crucially contains keywords with really high search volume, which is why we're now going to have to go back to Self-Publishing Titans and find exactly what those keywords are. So if I just go back to Self-Publishing Titans, as you can see here, I've just typed in food coloring book again, and we want to find keywords with a really high search volume. So ours is a food coloring book for adults. So this is definitely one we're going to want to put in because A, it's super relevant to our book, and it also has a really good search volume. So we're just going to go and make sure we add in food coloring book for adults. That's definitely going to be one. Food coloring book, bold and easy. Again, that's another one. So we're going to probably make sure we include the term bold and easy in our title and subtitle as well. As you can see, 4,000 searches for that. As you can see, food coloring book, drink, sweet. If we want to include the word drinks and sweet in our title or subtitle, that could also be a good one because this keyword is getting a lot of searches every single month. So the goal with kind of building out your title and subtitle is making sure it makes sense relative to what your book is, but also make sure you're sneaking in keywords that have really high search volume, which again is why Self-Publishing Titans is an absolute must when it comes to having an Amazon KDP business. So I'm going to go back over to Amazon KDP now, create a title and subtitle, and then come back and explain exactly what I've done. So as you can see, the title I've gone for is Espresso Yourself, and the subtitle is Funny Food Coloring Book for Adults, 50 Unique, Bold and Easy Designs for Stress Relief and Relaxation. Now, one thing I will mention here is the book title you actually have has to appear on the front cover. So if you go back to the example that I showed you earlier, the front cover just actually says Espresso Yourself. So back in the day, you would usually keyword stuff your book title, but it really doesn't matter too much anymore because as long as it's the keywords are in your subtitle, that is absolutely fine. So our book title is going to be Espresso Yourself, Funny Food Coloring Book for Adults, 50 Unique, Bold and Easy Designs for Stress Relief and Relaxation. So if I just go over to an example on Amazon KDP, you can see where the title and subtitles are. Anything before the colon here is the title. So this book is just called Stress Relief. So the fact ours is called Espresso Yourself is absolutely fine. They've then put in their keywords behind to improve their organic rankings. They've gone for coloring book for adults and kids. They've also gone for bold and easy, simple, big designs, relaxation, animals, landscape, flowers, patterns, cute things, and many more. So they're using exactly the same strategy that I'm suggesting that you use. So I'm going to walk through exactly why we've used some of these things in our subtitle. Firstly, we've got the keyword food coloring book for adults, which as we saw on Self-Publishing Titans is a really high search volume keyword. So we want to make sure that is in our title as well. Food coloring book, bold and easy is also a really high search volume keyword, 4,155 searches every single month. So I've also gone in and included the terms bold and easy. So how Amazon will basically do this is they'll see the words bold and easy and the term food coloring book for adults and link these two together. So we will also index for the keyword food coloring book for adults, bold and easy, which is exactly what that keyword showed us just then. You do want to make sure you're not stuffing in too many keywords so it starts reading a little bit weird, which is exactly why I've not included the word drinks and sweet in there, because it would just look as though I'm kind of stuffing as many things in. I can definitely include these in my 7 backend keyword boxes, which I will show you in just a second. But I also went to Self-Publishing Titans and just typed in funny coloring book to see if the term funny coloring book is also a really good keyword. And as you can see, there are a lot of search results, but there is a ridiculous amount of search volume, 14,930 searches every single month for the keyword funny coloring book. So I wanted to make sure in mine I had the keyword funny, and also within the subtitle also had the word coloring book. So I would index for this keyword. So as you can see, funny food coloring book, I've got funny there, and I've also got coloring book there. So we're going to index for that keyword. And as you can see at the end here, I've also said stress relief and relaxation, because I also searched in stress relief coloring book onto self-publishing titles. As you can see, 18,573 search volume for stress relief coloring book. Stress relief coloring book for adults. So huge demand going through the keyword stress relief coloring book, and exactly the same for relaxation or relaxing, depends which one you want to go for. I've gone for relaxation coloring book, 18,000 search volume. So within this, title and subtitle, yes, it makes sense. Espresso Yourself is the name of the book. Funny food coloring book for adults, 50 unique, bold and easy designs for stress relief and relaxation. This reads really well for the average person. They'll just think, oh, that's a cool description of the book. But what we're actually doing is we're describing the book, and we're also putting in some really high ranking keywords so we can hopefully rank as well as we possibly can organically. So that's kind of the science behind your book title. That's one way in which your book can rank. Now, another way your book can rank is by filling out these 7 keyword boxes. So I'll get to this in just a second, but there's a few things we need to do before we do that. So we're going to go for that as our book title and subtitle. The author, you can literally go ahead and type in whatever you want to here. So that this is called a pen name. It can be your actual name. It can be a random name that you make up. It can be a random brand name you make up. Just make sure it's not a name that is trademarked, copyrighted, or, is a competitor's name, because you can get in trouble for that. For this example, I'm just going to go, you could put something like, I'm looking ahead, I've got a white frame in front of me, so I could go for white frame press, could be the name of it could be your pen name. So it's called White Name Press. And if you go to here, that's exactly where it will say. It will say by White Frame Press. This person's obviously gone in and typed in Coco YO, as you can see here. That's probably their name or their brand name, but it depends whatever you want to go for. But for this example, we're just going to go for White Frame Press. I'm assuming that's not trademarked, so we're going to go ahead and that. Contributors, you can leave this blank. Edition number, you can also leave that blank, and the same with series, especially if this is your first book. And now we move on to the description, which is a really important part, because the description is going to help contribute to converting someone to actually buying your book. So we just go back to here. This is the description here. So whatever we put into this box here is what's going to appear here. So within the description, there's a couple of things you want to remember. Don't just fully describe your book and say how amazing it is, because that's just not really good copywriting at all, especially when it comes to kind of sales copy. You want to make sure you're calling out your ideal customer so they can, see the description, read it and think, okay, this is exactly for me. You also want to make sure and include how the book actually solves those customers' problems. So if it's a relaxation coloring book like the one that we've got, the problems they're going to have is maybe the customer's quite stressed. They're looking for something to take their minds off things. These are the kind of things that you want to include in your book description. So this is the description that I put together. It just says, need something easy and fun that actually helps you switch off. Straight away, that calls out exactly my ideal customer and calls out their pain points. They're someone that just can't switch off, and they're looking for something that's fun, but also does allow them to switch off and just relax a little bit. So straight away in the description, we've not said, our book is the best book ever, you should buy it because I think it's great. We've called out specifically their issues, which straight away gets their attention. I've then gone and explained a little bit more about the book. I've said this food coloring book is designed for people who want to relax without thinking too hard. Again, handling a potential objection that they might have. No complicated patterns, no pressure to be artistic. Again, people might want to avoid coloring books because they feel like they're not very good at drawing or very good at coloring. Again, we've handled that objection there. Just funny food puns, bold illustrations, and satisfying pages that will help your brain slow down. Again, selling the benefit of slowing down their brain. That's exactly why they're here for a book like this. So as you can see, this description is very geared towards a specific customer and targeting their pain points. Each page pairs a clever laugh out loud pun with a cute design that's simple to color and genuinely calming. And then we go into a bullet point section. I generally recommend always including bullet point sections here. We've just said this book has been designed to help you calm a busy and overthinking mind, break screen scrolling habits, reduce stress after long days, relax without feeling unproductive, laugh a little while you unwind. All 5 of these things are going to be the exact things our potential customer has either had issues with or wants to, get from a product, i.e. the book like ours. So we're calling out exactly our customer. I've just finished it off. Whether you're burnt out from work, stuck in your head, or just want a break that doesn't involve another screen, this book gives you a simple way to relax, reset, and feel better. So rather than me just saying, this book contains 50 images and all the designs are great and you're not going to find them anywhere else, a description like that doesn't help the customer at all. That's just me showing off my book. They don't care about my book. Someone only buys something online because it solves a problem for them. Anything you buy online ultimately boils down to that. So when you're building out your book description, it's really important you understand the problems that your customer has and you really call it out. So if you want to use this kind of template for your books and just change the wording and change the things based on the book that you're making, then feel free to do so. It's a pretty good way of doing it, and that's how I recommend you write your book description. You then want to move on to the next section, which is publishing rights. You want to make sure that you say you own the copyright, because you do. You've created the book yourself. You own the rights. Primary audience, you want to select if there's any explicit images or in the title. In this case, we're going to go for no. And then reading age is entirely up to you what you want to go for. For me personally, this can be for kids or for adults. It doesn't really matter. So I'm not going to select a reading age. If you had a book that was just for like kids age 8 to 12, then you would go in and select 8 and 12 here. Just helps Amazon identify a little bit more about your book, but this is definitely a book that kids can use and also adults can use. But with that said, if we're going to use adults in the title, I would actually generally recommend for something like this, we do go ahead and add the reading age in. So we're going to go for 16 years old. I know technically you're 18 as an adult, but anyone who's 16 is probably also going to be interested in a book like this. So we're going to go for a minimum 16 with no maximum. You then want to select your primary marketplace. Now, I would generally always recommend Amazon.com. This is basically the location where you expect the majority of your book sales. Don't worry, when you upload this, it will go onto every single one of these Amazon sites by default. You just have to select a primary one. I would always choose Amazon.com. It's by far the biggest market. It's the US market, unless you had a book that was specifically for the UK, or you had a book that was German or for the German market. In that case, I would select the individual territory, but generally always just go for Amazon.com. Categories, then want to go ahead and choose some categories for your book. This again just helps Amazon understand a little bit more about what your book actually is. So for us, we're going to go into the category of crafts, hobbies, and homes. As you can see, there are some options here, but they're not necessarily what we want for. Coloring books for grown-ups, and as you can see, there's loads of different categories that we can choose here. There's nothing specifically for food coloring, so we're just going to go ahead and press general. So Amazon now knows that we have got a coloring book for grown-ups, and that's exactly what it's going to kind of show. It's going to push our books to people who are looking for something like that. Does your book can classify as one of these types a low content book? No, it's a coloring book, and no, it isn't large print, because again, it's a coloring book. So if you're doing a journal or something like that, you would maybe tick these, but I generally recommend staying away from those. So if you're uploading a coloring book, don't worry about ticking any of these. And now we come to our 7 backend keyword boxes. So it says here, choose up to 7 keywords highlighting your book's unique traits. Keywords are typically short phrases, up to 50 characters that customers use to narrow their book search on Amazon. For example, medieval fantasy book. So in these keywords, we essentially want to find loads of potential search terms that people would be searching into Amazon to find our book. Because just like we've done with our title, we want to rank for as many of these keywords as possible. So you guessed it, we're now going to go back over to Self-Publishing Titans and find as many of these keywords as possible. So again, without Self-Publishing Titans, this is the sort of thing where you would go in and just put in a load of random keywords and have no idea if people are actually searching for them. But this really long process is just made super easy and super quick with this, because we have all of this data here. Now we've got food coloring book already in our title. So we're going to go through and add in a couple more that we didn't. So this food coloring book drink sweet, this is getting a lot of searches every single month. So this is definitely one we're going to go ahead and copy and then just paste in as one of our keywords. What else have we got here? Maybe we're going to sort by opportunity and see what options we have. Food coloring book for kids. Simple coloring book for adults food. For some reason, people are typing this into Amazon. As you can see, 5,000 searches every single month. We're going to go back into here and put this in. Let's just go up here and type in simple food coloring book. Let's see if there are any suggestions off the back of this. So as you can see, we've got simple food coloring book here. Now, it isn't actually a great opportunity. It only has an opportunity score of 4. But not every single keyword needs to have a super high opportunity score. As long as the search volume is really high, we want to make sure we're indexing for this keyword too. So obviously the lower opportunity and the more search results you get, the less we're going to rank for that keyword. But we do want to make sure we're at least indexing for it because it shows Amazon that our book is related to this search term. So we're going to go for simple food coloring book, and we're going to go ahead and add that in. Let's just now go back to food coloring book again and seeing if there's any opportunities that we've missed. So opportunity score, again, 7 to 9 is pretty good. Simple coloring book for adults, food. As you can see here, healthy food coloring book. Anything else that we haven't put in? Food and drink simple coloring book. So again, that could be an option. So food and drink simple coloring book. I'm going to go ahead and put that one in. So that's enough of food coloring book. Let's go back and look in for something to do with relaxing. So we'll go for that relaxing coloring book angle. Opportunities have we got here? Relaxing owl, relaxing coloring book for adults 101, relaxing coloring book for kids bulk. So nothing really here for us. We've got these relaxing coloring books for adults. As you can see, 122 search volume, 2,000 search results, not a great opportunity score and a really bad demand. So let's try relaxation. So I'm just leaving all of this in because I think it's useful for you to be able to see exactly the process we're going through. So relaxation coloring book for adults, really good one here. Opportunity score of 9, search volume of 6,000. So we're going to go in and add this into our keyword box. So now we only need 2 more. Let's have a look. Nothing else for relaxation. So let's go for stress relief. As you can see here, stress relief coloring book, it has a lot of search volume, but there's also a lot of search results. So not a great opportunity score. So we're going to go ahead and sort this by opportunity score. Stress relief coloring book mini. Again, you want to make sure you're only including keywords that are actually related to your book and actually make sense. Stress release coloring book food, opportunity score of 7. So that's someone we could potentially do, but we want to see if there's any other ones for us. So in terms of the opportunity score, these don't look necessarily as good. Let's try adult coloring book. So you're probably starting to see if you don't have self-publishing titles, this becomes a pretty much impossible task, which is why I think it's absolutely essential that you have this for your KDP business because again, it gives you the data you need to get the right things in place for making as many sales as possible. So let's again go to opportunity, adult coloring book markers, adult coloring book cat swearing. So again, this could be a potential niche you go into. Swearing cats coloring book, as you can see, really good opportunity. So when you're doing this, you might come across potential books you make in the future. Again, that's why this tool is so powerful. So after I upload this book, this is definitely a book that I would look to go ahead and make, a swearing cats coloring book. Let's just see actually while we're here if these books are actually selling well. So swearing cats coloring book, let's go down to here. Let's see. Yeah, 53,000, 74,000. So these ones are selling okay. So that is definitely an opportunity. So this just kind of shows while you're finding keywords for one thing, you might actually find opportunities for something else. Adult coloring book funny quotes. There we go. That's a really good one for us. Opportunity score of 9. Ours is an adult coloring book with funny quotes. So let's go back to here. Drop this into keyword number 6 and just keep coming down with markers, no bleed, men's cars, men's sports, set flowers, football, stoner, religious, easy funny. That could also be another one for us. Adult coloring book, easy funny. Let's just see what else we've got. So let's firstly just have a look at teen coloring book because although adults are going to like this book, you'd imagine teenagers would also like it as well. So are there any potential teen coloring book keywords that we could use? Teen coloring book boys 14 to 18. So that's definitely an opportunity for us. Doesn't seem to be anything else really. The reason why I'm not going to use this is because I kind of want to keep it specifically to adults, relaxation, or food. So let's go for sweet treats coloring book because a lot of the designs in ours are kind of sweet treats. Sweet treats coloring book for kids, that would have been really good. Cute sweet treats coloring book, there you go. Opportunity score of 9. This is exactly what we're going to use for our final keyword because it completely aligns with what our book is. Adorable sweet treats coloring book is also another keyword you could use. So actually this has even less search terms. So you could actually go ahead and use this one instead. But you can see now just how many keywords we're finding by using self-publishing titles. So adorable sweet treats coloring book, that's going to be our final keyword. And we're going to go ahead and put that in there. So not only are we indexing for loads of keywords in our subtitle and title, we're also going to be indexing for loads of these really good opportunity keywords in our backend 7 keyword boxes. So this does say optional. It is actually really, really important. So I would definitely ensure you're filling these out and do exactly as I've done in that example here. Publication date, keep that already checked, and then release date exactly the same. And then just go ahead and press save and continue. And then you go to the next section, which is the paperback content. Now I've actually already got an ISBN for this book, but it will basically say ISBN. And then you want to go ahead and just press get a free ISBN, press assign ISBN, and it'll give you this number here. Completely free, absolutely fine. You want to go ahead and just press that. And then you have your printing options. You have 4 different options. You have black and white interior with cream paper, black and white interior with white paper, standard color interior with white paper, and then premium color interior with white paper. I always go for black and white interior with white paper. It's a coloring book. It's only going to be black and white. And it also means you have the maximum margins when it comes to how much money you're making. You then have to select your trim size. So there's so many different trim sizes that you can select here. As I showed you earlier on, we made an 8.5 by an 8.5 book. So that's a square book. The only other two that you probably might use are 6 by 9. This is an A5 book. Or you've got 8.5 by 11, which is here, and that is an A4 book. So generally, 99% of your books are going to be either 6 by 9, 8.5 by 11, or 8.5 by 8.5. This is square, this is A4, and this is A5. So we're going to go for 8.5 by 8.5. Bleed settings, we're going to go for no bleed. Bleed basically means, is the interior of your book bleeding into the spine? So if you think about a notebook, the lines on a notebook or like a line journal end up in the middle of the spine. If that's the case for your book, then you would select bleed PDF only. Anything else like a coloring book, you would want to select no bleed. And then for the front cover of your book, you can upload it you can either have a matte finish or you can have a glossy finish. Doesn't really matter. Generally mine, I go for matte. I kind of like it looking with a matte finish. And then you have the fun bit, which is uploading the actual interior of your book and also the book cover. So the manuscript, all you want to do is go ahead and press upload manuscript. I've already uploaded it here. Because I'm at home and my Wi-Fi is extremely slow, so I've done this off camera to save you the pain of having to wait, 20 minutes for this to upload, but it should generally take you a couple of minutes unless your Wi-Fi is like mine and it's absolutely useless. So go ahead and just upload that finalized interior PDF that we just did a second ago. That's going to be your book interior, and you move on to the book cover. By default, it will say use cover creator. You want to make sure you go down to upload a book cover you already have. Go over to upload your book cover file and then select the file that we also created in Kittle. As you can see, I've done that here with this Espresso Yourself. Again, this will take a couple of minutes to actually upload, so be patient, maybe go and make a cup of tea or something, and then come back and it should all be done for you. And then finally, we have this AI generated content section here. This is not here to trip you up. You just need to be honest about how much AI you have used. So many people are worried that if they, tell Amazon that they've used AI in their books, they're going to get banned or whatnot. Just not the case at all. You just need to be honest with what you're using. So in terms of ours, we didn't use any AI for text. We did use AI for images. We're going to select many AI generated image with minimal or no editing because most of our images were generated using AI and we didn't really do too much else with it. So we're going to go ahead and select that. It's then going to ask you for the tools that you use. I'm just going to go ahead and add in Kittle. And then translations, we had none of those either. That's exactly what we've got. Absolutely fine. And then just go over to Launch Previewer. And then this is going to show you a preview of exactly what your book looks like. So as you can see, here's that front cover that I showed you earlier on. Espresso Yourself with also the designs on the back cover. You then go into the interior of the book. Here's that intro page that I showed you. Here's this message saying all the left pages are going to be there for prevent bleed through. And then here's our first image. Here's our blank, all the left-hand pages are going to be blank. Our right pages are going to be our designs. And as you can see, it's this all the way through the book. And here are all the designs that you saw me make earlier on. We've ended up with 99 pages in here, which means I think I might have accidentally missed off one design here, but that's my fault. So just have a scan through this and then go ahead and press approve. If you've got dimensions wrong or you've got some designs that spill over the side of the book, you will have some issues here. It will basically say something like design spills over the edge of the page and you won't be able to approve it. But what essentially is happening is Amazon is checking your files, making sure everything fits where it should be. So if there are any issues, you will be told here with this quality check and you won't be able to approve it. Just go back to Exit Print Previewer, amend the issues that you've got because sometimes you might not realize that a design maybe goes over the edge of the page. But everything you need to know will be told to you here. But generally, if you follow the instructions in this video, everything should be fine. Go ahead and just press approve. Then just go down and press save and continue. And then you go ahead and set the price for your book. So I would always keep this as individual territories. That primary marketplace is locked in. And then you want to go ahead and set the price for your book. Now, how much you price your book does entirely depend on how much your competitors are priced for. I generally price my coloring books at around at least $9.99. As you can see, if I put it at $9.99, it's going to cost $2.84 to print. We don't actually pay that. That just comes out of the sale price. And for every single sale that we make at $9.99, we will make $3.15, and then it automatically does exactly the same for all of these other territories. Now, you might want to just update these so they end in 99. It looks a bit more professional. So in the US, our book is going to be $9.99. The UK, it'll be $7.99. In Germany, it will be €8.99. I'm going to go through and add all of these. I'm not going to do it because it just takes a little bit of time. But that's what I would essentially do, just so the price looks good. Because if it's something like €8.53, it just looks a little bit unprofessional. But as you can see, for every US copy we sell, we'll make $3.15. And for every UK copy we sell, we'll make $2.64. So again, go through, set your price accordingly. You don't want to go too low, because if you go with something like $6.99, you're only making 66% royalties. It's just not scalable. It's going to be very hard to make this book profitable, especially if you're using ads. So I would always recommend going at least $9.99 for your coloring books. But remember, in order to do this, you need to make sure you can actually justify that price, which is why it's so important your book is high quality and you're also, not having too much competition by using the techniques that I showed you in that niche research section. For us, if anyone wants a quote food coloring book, they're going to have to come to us and buy ours. And ours is $9.99. You don't want to pay $9.99. There isn't an alternative for you. So people are going to go ahead and buy ours at $9.99, especially if competitors' books are just containing images of food with no funny quotes and, no details around it. For the same price, you can get ours, which is a significantly better product and also a unique product. So that's how I've justified this $9.99. So again, it's kind of subjective how much you want to price it for, but that's exactly how you would do that. Then all you want to do is go down and just say, publish your paperback book. It will take around 24 to 72 hours for your book to go live. Once you press this button, Amazon will check it, they'll review it, and then you'll get an email from Amazon to the email that you signed up with when you created your Amazon account to say your book is now live on Amazon. And there you go, you have uploaded your first Amazon KDP book and it is live, ready for people to go ahead and buy it. So now that we've created our book and it is live on Amazon, the next step we need to do is start getting its initial reviews. So that is step 4 of this entire process. Now, KDP book reviews. Book reviews are, in my opinion, the biggest driver of purchasing decisions because they provide social proof. If you have 2 books, right, and let's just say they're exactly the same book, one book has 1 5-star review and the other book has 25-star reviews. They're the same book, they're the same price. Which one are people going to buy? 100% of the time, people are going to go for the book that has more reviews. More reviews means it's more social proof. It taps into the psychology of people know they're going to get something that's worth their money when they actually buy it. So if you don't have reviews in your book, it's very, very difficult to get sales. And they can also persuade your customers to buy your book instead of a competitor, even if the price is higher. Again, let's just say you have 2 competing books. One is listed for $7.99, the other one is listed for $9.99. But the $7.99 one has 1 review and the $9.91 one has 20 reviews. Even though the $9.99 book is more expensive, because it has more social proof, people trust it more. You're going to sell way more with the second book because it's got those reviews, it's got that proof, and people are happy to spend a little bit more money to know that they're going to get the right product. So book reviews are honestly so important with Amazon KDP. And they also help you rank higher because Amazon know that not only does your book sell well, but people are also enjoying it too, because leaving a good review is an indicator to Amazon that people are buying it and therefore enjoying it, and therefore it's likely to sell more. So there's so many benefits to getting KDP book reviews. So how does this whole process work? Now, it's very well summarized with this kind of diagram here, because ultimately without reviews, it's very, very difficult to convince people to buy your book. So you won't sell a book until you get reviews, but then how can you get reviews if no one's buying your book? You kind of end up in this kind of weird cycle here. You haven't got any reviews in your book, so you're not going to make any sales. And because you're not making any sales, you're not going to get any reviews. And because you haven't got any reviews, you're not going to get any sales. And this whole kind of feedback loop starts. And a lot of people will just upload a book to Amazon KDP and then just get stuck in this cycle where they just can't drive any sales or any reviews, and they end up selling absolutely no units. And like I say, this is the endless loop that so many KDP publishers end up finding themselves in. But there is a way to break this cycle and get reviews on your books before you start selling them. And you think, now, the minute you start getting more reviews, all of a sudden you've got reviews on your book, therefore more people are likely to buy. The more people who buy, the more people you have to review it, the more reviews you get, the more people who will start buying. So this feedback loop starts working in your favor. So you're probably wondering, how do you get reviews without selling books? And the key with Amazon KDP is you don't actually need to have sold a book, or someone doesn't need to have bought your book in order to leave a review. They can receive something called an advanced reader copy, which basically means they receive a PDF version or like an online version of your book. And in return, they will download that for free and they'll be able to leave a review on Amazon. And the way to get these reviews is through a website called Book Bounty. Now, I'll go through this in a step-by-step process in just a sec, but in terms of just a very quick top-line summary of how Book Bounty works, it's essentially a place where you can list your book to be reviewed. So let's say you have a coloring book, you can upload a PDF version of this book. So a 100-page PDF document, someone can then go ahead and download that completely for free. They can go and print out these pages and use them to color in or whatever it is they want to do with them. And then within a certain time period, they will then have to leave a review on your actual Amazon listing, even though they haven't actually bought the book. Because although they haven't bought it from Amazon, they received what was known as an advanced reader copy, which is this PDF version. They have seen it, they have used it. Granted, they'd have printed it out rather than having the physical book, but it's still completely compliant with Amazon to therefore leave a rating off the back of this. So that's essentially how Book Bounty works. And it's essentially this way of generating reviews without getting any sales. So off the back of this, you can easily get 5 to 10 reviews without even selling a single unit. And then once you've got those reviews, you will start slowly making sales because you have this social proof. And it just breaks out of that chain, or that negative chain that I mentioned just a second ago. So now I'm going to jump over to another video that I've already recorded on my YouTube channel, giving you a step-by-step walkthrough of exactly how to use Book Bounty. In 2025, book reviews are arguably one of the most important parts of Amazon KDP, because if a potential customer lands on your book listing and you don't have reviews, they simply don't trust your book and they're going to go off to a competitor who does have reviews and buy their book instead. And not only do reviews build trust with your potential customers, they also allow Amazon to push it more in the algorithm, which ultimately leads to even more sales for your book. So essentially, to make sales on Amazon KDP, you need to have reviews on your book. But the big problem is a lot of people can't get those initial reviews on their book that will kickstart this whole sales process. And those people who are getting reviews by using tools like Puppy might actually be at risk of getting their account terminated due to updates in Amazon KDP's terms and conditions. So in this video, I'm going to show you a completely safe and legitimate way to get these initial reviews on your books and do so in a way that doesn't risk your KDP account being terminated. So before I jump in and show you the tool, this is the update to Amazon's terms and conditions that might be catching a lot of people out who are using sites like Puppy. Now, I have previously made a video showing you how to use Puppy as a good way to get reviews in your books, but this update literally came out a couple of days after I made that video, so I recommend you pay very close attention to this. These are the terms and conditions when it comes to customer reviews on your Amazon KDP books, and what KDP basically did is they added in a couple of lines at the ends of their terms and conditions. So basically says, here are a few examples of where a review is not permitted, and here are the 2 new ones they've added in. Firstly, if the customer is a member of a review club where sellers or brands give the customer ratings or refer the customer to other sellers or brands based on their review. And the second one is the customer is a member of a review club where they are asked to register their Amazon public profile so that sellers or brands may monitor their reviews or products offered through the club. Now, all of this information is extremely boring and hard to actually understand, so I'm going to break it down in very simple terms for you. What this basically means is you can't get reviews through sites like Puppy if everything is done through some kind of public profile. So what this basically means is if you get a review from something like Puppy, but you can see the name of the person who's left that review, Amazon therefore considered that to be an illegitimate review because technically you have information about that person's public profile, and hypothetically you could contact them and tell them maybe to remove the review or, do something with the review and therefore manipulate the experience. So the big problem here all comes down to this idea of public profile and seeing the name of the person who left the review on your book. So I'm just on my Puppy account to show you an example of what I mean by this. So as you can see, here is a review that was left on one of my random books in April 2022. The name here is PDC. It's a bit of a bad example because it's not an actual name, but this is going to be the name of the person's Amazon account that they left their review. So technically this could say something like Paul or something like that. So I have the name of the person that's left the review on my book, and this is now against Amazon's terms and conditions. So when it comes to using a tool to help get reviews on your books, you crucially shouldn't be able to see the name of the person that's left their review. So this is why I actually recommend you don't use Puppy anymore. I know it's annoying and confusing because I recently made a video showing you how to use Puppy, Puppy, but this update literally came out, as I said, a couple of days after that video, and why I wanted to make this video to ensure that everyone is completely safe. Now, if I'm being completely honest, this is probably not going to get you in trouble with your Amazon KDP account, but again, you can never be too careful, and why I wanted to just give an alternative option for those of you who might be a little bit worried about something like this. And that alternative option is Book Bounty. Now, I will leave a link to Book Bounty down below in the description, but it works in a very, very similar way to Puppy, but the big difference between Book Bounty and Puppy is that on Book Bounty, the reviews that you get, you can't see who has left the review for you, and therefore it's definitely within Amazon's terms and conditions, and we're moving away from that kind of blurred line that Puppy hasn't yet crossed. So as you can see, it works in a very similar way to Puppy. You review other people's books, you get a score that you can then spend on getting reviews for your books. I'm going to show you a full tutorial in just a sec, but I'm just introducing it to you now. So it's very, very similar to Puppy, but you're just much more protected. And what I really, really like about Book Bounty is they're really on top of all of these updates that Amazon come out with. Whenever there's been an update in terms and conditions from Amazon sites in regards to reviews, I, as a user of Book Bounty, have received an email from them to explain exactly what this update is and also how they have adapted their software to make sure they're still following all of these updated guidelines. So honestly, you're very, very safe with using Book Bounty. Another benefit of using Book Bounty over something like Puppy is it's a lot more affordable. If you sign up on a monthly subscription, using my link down below in the description, it's $25 a month if you sign up on a monthly basis, or only $15 per month if you sign up on a yearly basis. So it's safer than Puppy, and it's also cheaper than Puppy. So how Book Bounty works is you essentially have your bounty score up here, and you use these points to get reviews on your books. But to get these points in the first place, you need to be reviewing other people's books. And this is how you do it. If you scroll across to Bounty Library here, you can see all of these different books that you can use and you can read and also review and get Book Bounty scores for. So as you can see, the bounty score is here, and you might notice that some books have a higher bounty score than others. That's basically because some books you actually have to purchase them on Amazon in order to leave your review. So therefore you have to pay a little bit of money, but you get more bounties for doing that. So it's entirely up to you kind of which one you want to go for. You can filter everything here by free promotions, Kindle Unlimited, verified purchases. You can sort by highest bounties. So the Dog's Guide to Happiness, I get 2,620 bounties for reviewing this book. But just for this example here, let's just go for a free download and choose one of these books here. I'm going to choose this one here, Read Faster, Remember More. If I review this book, I get 1,280 bounties. So I'm going to go ahead and just click into this book and press choose this bounty. When you do that, you will see the reward you get, 1,280 bounty points. It's going to be a standard review. I'll show you exactly what that means in just a second. It shows you the date in which it's due, and it also shows you the word count of the book. So all you would do is go ahead and press start reading. And as you can see, these bounty points have now been added to my account, and it will give me basically a calendar of when everything needs to happen. So then you want to scroll down here to where it says bounty to-dos, and you have to go ahead and do all of these different tasks. So firstly, you need to go ahead and download the book. Just press this link here, and what that will do is download the book that you want to go ahead and read and then leave a review for. And I will say here, like any other review site, you need to provide a genuine and honest review. This is not a case of just paying to get 5-star reviews on your book. That's not how this worked. These are all genuine and honest reviews. So the reviews you're getting on your book, if your book is poor quality and you're using something like Book Bounty, you're going to get a bad review. It's not a case of just because you're using this, you're always going to get 5-star reviews. Reviews on here are genuine and legitimate. That's how it stays within Amazon's terms and conditions. So make sure, firstly, your book is high quality, and also when you're reviewing other people's books, you give genuine and honest reviews. So here is the book that we're going to be reviewing here. What you would do is take a couple of days, go through this entire book, and then once you've read this book, you would go back into Book Bounty. You would tick off this as downloaded the book. You would then have read the book, and then you want to press this view on Amazon button. And what this will do is take you over to the listing, and that's where you can go ahead and submit your review on Amazon. By default, it will take you to the American store, but if you're someone like myself that lives in the UK, all you need to do is simply go over here and just replace this with .co.uk and then leave the review on this site. Then once you've left your review, you would check this post your review on Amazon button and then copy and paste the review into here and then submit this bounty on Book Bounty. And what Book Bounty will do is they will take the review you've submitted to them and make sure it matches exactly with the review you've left on Amazon, and then everyone is a winner. You've got your bounty and then they've got their review. So now that you've reviewed someone else's book, you've got bounties. It's now time for you to spend those bounties and get reviews on your own book. All you want to do is go over to my book section here and then just press this plus new book button. And then this is how you set up your book to get reviews. So you want to go ahead and put in the title of your book. So for the title, I'm just using an example here. So I've just put in my test book and I've also just put my name as the author, but put the actual title of your Amazon KDP book, go into your listing, copy and paste it and put it in here. And then just put your author name in here as well. And then you have the option of the type of bounty contract that you like. Now, this is the bit where it gets a little bit confusing, and I want to explain how you can navigate this. So you have 3 different types of reviews. You have a standard review, you have a Kindle Unlimited review, and you have a verified purchase review. Now, verified purchase is the strongest kind of review that you can get because it basically means someone's gone in, bought your book, and then left a review, and you will have a verified purchase review right next to the review on your Amazon listing. So this is definitely the best one you can get, but it does cost a few more bounties. The next best one is Kindle Unlimited. This is basically when you upload a Kindle version of your book, someone downloads it during a free promotion, and you get a review that way. And then the final review you can get is a standard review. It's technically the weakest kind of review you can get, but it's actually really, really good if you have things like coloring books and you have things like activity books that can't be converted into ebooks, because both of these 2 options require your book to be in an ebook format. They're downloading the Kindle version of your book. They're purchasing the ebook version of your book. So if you have a coloring book or an activity book or any kind of book that can't be an ebook version, it's generally quite difficult to get reviews. And that's why you need to be using this standard option here, because what they do with this standard option is exactly what I've just shown you in that previous example. You will upload a PDF or an EPUB version of your book onto Book Bounty. Someone will go ahead and review your book. They'll then download it just like we've done, and they'll actually read through the PDF version rather than the actual Amazon version. And they're still able to leave a review because they have read what your book is about. So if it's a coloring book or an activity book, they'll get access to the PDF. They can print those pages off, they can use it, and then they can leave their review. So ideally, if your book can be converted to Kindle, I would always recommend going for the verified purchase. Definitely the strongest kind of review you can get. But if it's like a coloring book or an activity book, like I say, just stick to the standard review. And if you just click this button, this is where you upload the PDF file of your book interior. Now, once you've done that, you then need to upload a file of your front cover. This literally just needs to be a PNG of the front cover of your book. It's not the entire cover itself, it's just the front cover. So as you can see in this example, this is literally the PNG file they've uploaded. Nothing to do with the back cover, literally just a screenshot or an image of your front cover. So just going back to what I was saying a second ago, when you upload this PDF file of your book, the file that I'm talking about here is the one that someone who comes to review your book, they'll press this book here, and it's just this file that you upload here. So it's basically just the interior of your book for someone to go ahead and read, and they can leave a review based off that. So that's what I mean by uploading your book file here, and your front cover is just that PNG image. You then need to upload an Amazon URL or a short example of an Amazon URL. Some people get a little bit confused by this, but I'm going to show you exactly what it means. Say this was an example of your book. If you want to go up to the URL here, as you can see, it's quite a long one. You want to find the bit where it says /ref, and then everything after here, you just want to go ahead and delete. And this is the URL you want to go ahead and copy into Book Bounty. Then simply just go ahead and select a genre, depending on whatever book you have. Let's just say it's to do with cookbooks, food and wine. And then just leave a brief description of your book. This doesn't have to be your actual Amazon book description. Just allow someone who's potentially going to read your book to know a little bit more about it before they go ahead and review it. And then just press submit for approval. And then in a couple of days, it will be approved by Book Bounty, and then you can list it and people can start reviewing it for you. So once your book has been approved by Book Bounty, just click into the book itself and then just press start a bounty. And then you can choose loads of different things. So the turnaround time, you can choose 1 day, you can choose 4 days. The quicker it is, the more, bounties that you will spend. As you can see, 1 day will cost you 1,250. 4 days will cost you a little bit less, but it obviously takes longer to get that review in. You then choose a certain bounty contract type. So for the example of this book here, I only selected standard when I actually uploaded my book to Book Bounty. So this is the only option. So I would then go ahead and press standard. And then all I would do is just press send bounty. And then my book will appear here just like everybody else's. Someone will come along, they'll click into my book, and then they will leave a review. They get their bounty score, and then I get my review. And that's exactly how Book Bounty works. So that's how you can get legitimate reviews on your Amazon KDP books without the risk of it being terminated. Now, if you do want to check out Book Bounty, I will leave that link down below in the description. And if you have any questions about anything I've covered in here, you want me to clarify anything that you might be a little bit confused about, then please do let me know in the comments section down below. So up to this point, we've done research to understand what book to make and why we're making it. We've actually gone ahead and made that book. We've uploaded it optimally to Amazon KDP. We've then got our initial reviews in, so we've got some social proof and some reviews behind our books. So the final thing you need to do now is start marketing and advertising your book using Amazon ads. Now, Amazon ads can be an extremely complicated thing for some people. Some people take to it very easily. They understand data and all this kind of thing. So it can be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to cover it in as simple terms as possible and explain everything you need to know to start using Amazon ads as a beginner. Going through everything you need to know as a beginner to understand and launch your first Amazon ad and start making sales from your KDP books. So this again is taken from a separate video, but will give you absolutely everything you need to build up the confidence, launch your first auto ad, and like I say, start making sales. In this video, I'm going to teach you absolutely everything you need to know about Amazon KDP ads as a beginner. So that ultimately by the end of this video, you can start using ads with confidence and start using them to make you more money on Amazon KDP. So Amazon KDP ads for beginners. Now this is going to be quite a long video, so I'm going to break down exactly what we're going to cover throughout the entirety of it. Firstly, I'll explain why you need to be using Amazon ads. We'll then move on to how Amazon ads actually work, explain things like the bidding system and just how the whole process comes to life. And then finally, I'll show you how to create and monitor your ads to make them as profitable and make you as much money as possible. Now, of course, there's quite a few layers within each of these, but this is generally the structure that we're going to follow throughout this video. So let's start with why we want to use Amazon ads in the first place. Now, the reason why you want to use Amazon ads in the first place is that they allow your books to be seen by more customers. The more eyes you get on your books, the more sales that you make. And they also allow you to place your book crucially in front of the right customers because they're going to be showing up against certain search terms and products, not just more people to see your books, but more of the right people. And they also allow you to crucially increase your organic sales too, because the more ranking your books get organically, the more sales you make. So as you sell more units through your ads, Amazon will recognize it's a good product and start pushing it more. Ultimately, Amazon just pushes the products that makes them the most money. So if you're using ads on your books and these ads are converting into sales, Amazon think, hey, this book's actually making some money, making us some sales. Let's push it higher in the algorithm and then hopefully even more people will buy it. So Amazon ads are more than just getting sales to ads. They also help you with your organic ranking too. Now here's a good visualization of exactly what I mean. Now don't get too carried away with the time frame and also the specific numbers. Just look at the general trend, and the general idea here is when you first launch an Amazon KDP book, just because it's just been launched, it's not going to rank very well organically because it's just been out. Amazon don't know whether or not to push it or not. So the vast majority of your sales when you first launch a book will come from ads. But as you start to continually use ads, Amazon realize that, okay, people are buying this book, and then they'll start pushing it a little bit more organically, and you'll start to make a few more organic sales. And then over time, even if the number of sales you get from your ads stays the same, you'll also be getting significantly more organic sales because Amazon would be pushing your book a lot more. Whereas if you didn't use Amazon ads when you first launch your book, it's very, very difficult to get this initial traction and to get these initial sales because ultimately no one can see your book in the first place. So that's why Amazon ads are really important, especially when you first launch your book. And ultimately, the more people that sell on Amazon, the harder it is to rank. As Amazon KDP has increased in competition as a business model, there are just more and more people that you're competing against. And that is why Amazon ads are so important, because they give you the opportunity to stand out from a lot of this competition. And the two main reasons why they're so important is firstly, the obvious one, they get you more sales. But secondly, they also improve your organic ranking, as I showed you in this slide here. And ultimately, these two things are a positive feedback loop. The more sales that you get, the more your ranking improves. The more your ranking improves, the more sales you get. So it's this constant feedback loop that's really, really beneficial once you get your Amazon ads right. So this is essentially why Amazon ads are so important and why I wanted to make this video to make it as easy to understand so as many of you as possible can start using ads and start making more sales. And it's also just worth mentioning here, whenever I'm talking about Amazon ads or Amazon KDP ads, they're both exactly the same thing. Amazon ads is the platform. You're just using Amazon ads for your KDP book. So they are exactly the same things. Sometimes I might call it Amazon ads. Sometimes I might call it Amazon KDP ads. They just mean the same thing. Now, there are two main different types of Amazon ads. The first one is a keyword ad, and that basically means anytime someone searches something into Amazon, i.e. puts in a keyword like dinosaur coloring book for kids, your product can show up against that certain keyword. So you can basically have your book shown in front of people who type in a certain thing. And as you can see, that's exactly what this book is doing here because it comes up with that sponsored button, as you can see. And then the second type of ad you can use is a product ad. So basically what it means is you can advertise your book against other people's books. So if I just click into this book here, as you can see, this is the listing for that book. And underneath here, you can see other books that other people are advertising against. So this is sometimes good to use against other books that are similar to yours, but you think yours is better. So basically someone could land on this page and then they see your book below and think, actually, this book looks a lot better. I'll buy this one instead. So there's two main types of ads, keyword ads and also product ads. Now, whichever one you end up doing is dictated by whether or not you use an auto ad or you use a manual ad. And I'll explain what these two things are now. So auto ads, by the name, it's quite straightforward. They are automatic. These are just ads that you will set up once, and Amazon will automatically advertise your book against certain keywords. I'll put search terms here. Search terms just means the same thing as keywords. Against search terms or keywords, and also products based off your book's metadata. So essentially auto ads mean Amazon do the targeting for you. So auto ads will use your book's metadata to decide where to advertise it. So it will look at the subtitle, the title, the categories you choose, the keyword boxes, the description of your book. It will look at all of these things and try and figure out what your book is and where it can place it. So for this example here, this is a dinosaur character coloring book. Amazon will read this and say, okay, this is a dinosaur coloring book. Has bold and easy designs and it's for adults and kids. So it might automatically think, okay, we'll show this book up anytime someone types in anything to do with dinosaur coloring book, whether that's for kids or for adults. It will also look at the description. So T-Rex, Velociraptor, Stegosaurus. So if someone types in T-Rex coloring book, it might also show up then. So basically this is how Amazon understand where to place your book in an auto ad. And then you also have manual ads. And these are ads where you can choose exactly what search terms or keywords and products you want to have your book shown against and exactly how much you're doing it for. And in this case, you're doing all the targeting yourself. So the big difference between auto ads and manual ads is you're both doing keyword targeting and product targeting. The difference is with auto ads, Amazon are choosing all of these targets for you, whereas in manual ads, you actually manually go in and choose specific search terms. So if this was a manual ad, you could tell Amazon, okay, I only want to be shown up anytime someone types in exactly dinosaur coloring book for kids. I don't want to be shown up anytime someone types in dinosaur book for girls or that kind of thing. You can be a lot more manual and a lot more selective. Hence the term manual versus automatic. Now, manual ads can go into a significant level of detail, and yes, you can use them as a beginner, but I recommend if you're brand new to Amazon KDP ads and you just want something that's not going to massively overwhelm you, just to focus on auto ads, because you can absolutely get incredible results just using these. And if you want to dive deeper into manual ads, you can do that at a later stage. So in this video, I'm going to be specifically focusing on auto ads, just so you don't get super overwhelmed with all of that information. So that's a quick explanation as to the different types of Amazon ads you can use and why they're so important to use them. We're now going to move on to how Amazon ads actually work. Now, Amazon ads are what we call PPC, which stands for pay per click. And this essentially means that you only pay once someone actually clicks into your ad. You're not paying when someone sees your book, you're paying when someone actually clicks into the ad. So if I go back to this example here, let me find it, this one here. I'm seeing this ad here, I'm seeing this book, but this person only actually pays once I click into that book and click into their book listing, as you can see here, hence the term pay per click. So don't worry, you're only spending money when someone actually clicks onto your ad, i.e. they have intent to actually buy it. It's not a case of you're paying for them just to see it. But having said that, what decides how much money you actually pay in the first place? Now, there are two variables that dictate how much you pay for your ads to be shown. Number one, something called the default bid, and number two, the bidding strategy. Now, I'm going to work through both of these in more detail individually, starting with the default bid. Now, the default bid, as you can see here, it will look something like this when you set up your Amazon KDP ad. Your default bid is simply just how much you are prepared for someone to see and ideally, hopefully, click into your ad. So in this example here, as you can see, my default bid is 20p, which basically means I'm telling Amazon, okay, I'm prepared to pay up to 20p for someone to see and click into my ad. And the problem is, of course, there are so many people advertising on Amazon KDP. So how do Amazon decide that I'm going to get that ad space versus someone else who might have a different default bid? So essentially how this whole bidding system works is you set a bid, then if that bid is higher than your competitors' bids, then you will win that advertising space. Now here's an example of exactly what I mean. Let's just pretend that this is our book and we had an auto ad, and our auto ad wanted to place our book against the search term dinosaur coloring book for kids. If you have two different people, I'm person A and somebody else is person B. My default bid is 40p and their default bid is 30p. So generally, who is going to win this advertising space? Well, the person who bidded more. So I'm going to win the advertising space on this certain occasion. So the higher that you bid, the more times that your ad will be shown and hopefully the more clicks that you'll get. But what it will mean is that you will pay more per click. So in this example here, person A is probably going to get more clicks on their ad, but person B is going to spend less per click. Now you might be thinking, okay, If person A has a higher bid than person B, then how is person B ever going to win the auction, because their bid is just lower than person A? But you also have to remember how many searches get put into Amazon every single day. There are literally millions of searches every single day. So all of these mini auctions are constantly taking place. Person A might have a budget that they've used up for the day, which basically means then person B can then get the next advertising space. So don't worry, it's not all about whoever has the highest bid is going to dominate and take everyone's auctions. If you have a lower bid, you can still win auctions because there's just so many different variables at play. But you have to remember, the lower your bid is, yes, the less you'll pay per click, but you're probably going to get a lot less clicks. All about finding this balance. So with all this in mind, you're probably thinking, okay, Sam, well, how much should I actually bid on my ads? And now as a beginner, I suggest choosing your bid based on your break-even point. You have to firstly figure out how many royalties you get from each book and then set your bid accordingly. So let's just say, for example, you make £2 per sale. This is not your book being sold for £2. So let's say your book was sold for £7 or whatever, but the royalty you made per book sale was £2. So therefore, every single sale you make, you personally get £2 back. If this is the case, then you only have 10 clicks on a 20p bid until it becomes quote unquote unprofitable. So in this example here, if you got £2 per book sale and you put your default bid as 20p, as long as you make one sale in every 10 clicks, you will be making money on that ad, because 10 clicks times by 20p is £2. So it's all about finding this balance between, having a high enough bid that you're actually going to get seen and you're going to get clicks, but also not having too high a bid that you're just going to spend loads and loads of money. So you're probably watching this and thinking, okay, well, the cheaper the bid I have, the better I'm going to be, because ultimately if I'm paying less per click, I can get so many more clicks, and then hopefully more of those people will actually buy my product. But you have to understand, as I kind of mentioned a second ago, bidding less means that you will win a lot less auctions, and therefore your ad won't be seen many times, if at all. If you have a default bid of something like 5 pence, yes, your cost per click is going to be extremely low. You're going to get so many more chances before your ad becomes unprofitable. But let's be honest, the chances are you're literally never going to win a single auction, because there are so many other people who are bidding more than you, because that is just such a low bid, having a low bid of something like 5p. And this is why it is so important to understand the metrics in the advertising console. You've probably seen the advertising console screenshots, or you've been in your own advertising console itself. There's so much data in there. It's extremely confusing. It's extremely overwhelming. But if you know how to analyze that data, you can see exactly if your bid is cheap enough, if it's too expensive, if it's too cheap, and find the optimum bid for you based on all of these metrics and all of this data. And later on in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But before we do that, I'm going to take you back to this slide where I said there are 2 variables that dictate how much you pay for your ads to be shown: the default bid, which I've just covered, and also the bidding strategy, which we'll move on to now. So the bidding strategy. The bidding strategy simply explains how your default bid behaves. Now, if you're a beginner, I recommend sticking to the down-only bidding option, as this basically means you'll never pay more than your default bid. So if you go actually set up an Amazon KDP ad, you'll select your default bid, and then you'll have this screen here. I'm going to show you exactly how this works and walk you through setting up an ad campaign in just a second, but this is basically how it will look. You can choose either dynamic bids down only, which basically means it will take your default bid and only bid that amount or less. You can have dynamic bids up and down, which basically means it will increase your default bid by a maximum of 100% in real time when your ad is more likely to convert into a sale. So it just gives it a little bit more flexibility. Or you can choose fixed bids, where you set a default bid of 20p and you bid that every single time, no less and no more. Now, the 2 most common bidding strategies you will see are dynamic bids down only and dynamic bids up and down. So I'm going to give you a bit more of a visual representation of exactly what this means. Now, these slides were actually taken from my KDP Ads Mastery course for all of those people who really want to take their ads to the next level. So if you want to check that out, I will leave that course linked down below in the description, and it will essentially teach you everything you need to know about advertising your KDP books on Amazon, and crucially prevent you from wasting loads of money on ads without knowing what you're doing, and hopefully make you a lot more sales too. But in this slide, I essentially compare the difference between a down only bid and an up and down bid. So let's just say you had a default bid on your ad of 50p. If you chose the dynamic bids down only strategy, this basically means that your default bid is 50p, your ad is only going to spend 50p or less. So anywhere between 0 and 50p is how much you're going to pay for your ad. So sometimes it might be cheaper, there might be less competition for your certain book or the certain target, in which case Amazon will be like, okay, we can win this for less than 50p. It might be something like 25p. So your bid is always going to be somewhere between 0 and 50p, because it basically says, here's your default bid, only bid that or lower. On the flip side, you then have dynamic bids up and down, which basically means here's your default bid of 50p. If we think it's more likely to convert into a sale, then we are prepared to spend at least up to 100% above your default bid. So if your default bid is 50p, we're basically saying we are okay to bid up to £1 if Amazon thinks it's more likely to convert into a sale. But equally, if it's less likely to convert into a sale or there's less competition, it could go even lower than 50p. So your range becomes 0 to £1. So that's basically how these two different bidding strategies kind of interact with each other. So that's everything you need to know about the bidding strategy and how Amazon ads actually work and where you're actually spending your money. I'm now going to show you exactly how you can create your first ad and start advertising your book on KDP. So what you want to do is head over to advertising.amazon.com and you have to create an Amazon ads account. Very, very straightforward to do. And then you have to select the country that you're advertising in. So I'm personally from the UK, so it will by default select United Kingdom, but even if you're living in the UK, you can advertise in every single one of these territories. So I might create some ads in the UK, I might create some ads in the US, I might create some ads in Australia. And I'll leave a link on screen now to a video where I show exactly how to do that in more detail. So once you've finished watching this, you can go ahead and watch that video and see exactly what I mean. But for this example, we're just gonna go ahead and stick to United Kingdom. So just gonna go ahead and press sign in. And then it will take you to advertising console where you can see all of your campaigns. This is currently set to a random day in April, but you can change this to loads of different date periods and you'll see a big graph showing you exactly how all of your ads are performing over time. As you can see from this specific day, I spent £14 on these ads with just under £90 worth of sales. So really, really profitable day in terms of ads. And then also you can go up here and select the different countries that you want to advertise in. So if I wanted to look at my campaigns that's specifically for the US market, you'd go up and click United States here, and the same for all of these different territories. But to go in and actually start creating your first campaign, just go over to this create a campaign button. And then you have the options of sponsored products or sponsored brands. This might look a little bit different depending on your location and also where you're advertising in. The one we want for this example is sponsored products. So go ahead and just click into that. And then you have a couple of things that you need to do. Now, the first thing is your ad group name. I always just leave this exactly as it is. And then you want to go ahead and choose the product you specifically want to advertise. Now, I have blurred these out because I don't want to give away, the books that I'm selling, because people, unfortunately, will just go ahead and copy them, which is a bit of a shame. But then once you've selected what book you want to advertise, it will say one product here and show you the book that you're advertising against. And then simply scroll down, and this is where you choose the different targeting that you want to do. So again, like I said at the start of this video, automatic targeting or manual targeting. These things below will change based on the type of targeting you want. As I showed you in this video, I'm only going to focus specifically on automatic targeting because this is the simplest and the easiest thing to understand. So we're going to start with automatic targeting. And then it comes to setting your default bid, as I showed you earlier on in the slides. So Amazon will recommend you a default bid range in which to go into. It's saying here, based on my book, I should have a default bid of between 25 pence and 41 pence with a recommended bid of 33 pence. Now, again, I would generally take this suggested bid with a little bit of a pinch of salt, and you can just try and test out different bids for yourself. So let's just say, for the example of this book, I made £2 royalty per sale. So if I wanted 10 clicks before my ad becomes unprofitable, I'm going to put my default bid as 0.2 or 20p, and that's what my default bid is going to be. Then I have the options for negative keyword targeting and negative product targeting. This basically means you can put in any kind of keyword that you don't want your book to show up again. So let's just say, for the example of this ad here, if I had a dinosaur coloring book for kids, specifically for the kids market, I do not want my ad to be shown up anytime someone types in dinosaur coloring book for adults. I'm not sure how many people would be searching this in, but every time someone searches in, we do not want our ad to be shown against that because our book is for kids. Anyone who sees our ad, clicks into it, and they're looking to buy it for themselves or for an adult, they're not going to buy ours, and we're just wasting loads of money. So this is where you can put in kind of keywords or products that you don't want to be targeting against. So your keywords go in there, and then your products go in here. Go ahead and put in the ASINs of the products that you don't want to, advertise against. And then you have your campaign bidding strategy. So exactly how this default bid behaves. Now, depending on which of these bidding strategies that you choose, it will change the recommended bid. So if I go for dynamic bids up and down, it will suggest that my default bid is 33p. But if I change this to dynamic bids down only, it would change this to 48p, because basically we're saying 48p or below for down only. Whereas if it's dynamic bids, we're giving that freedom to potentially bid more, and therefore Amazon recommend a lower default bid. But again, it's entirely up to you. If you're a beginner and you don't want to spend too much money, that's why I recommend going for dynamic bids down only. starting with a relatively low bid. And then if you're not getting any action, any impressions, any clicks on your ads, then you can slowly increase that bid over time. But don't worry about that now. I'll show you later on in this video exactly how to do that. So for this example, we're going to go for a 20p default bid, dynamic bids down only, which basically means we will never spend more than 20p per click. Anything that's 20p or below, we can compete for. And then you have the option for bid adjustments. Now this is a little bit more advanced. So as a beginner, honestly, I wouldn't worry about these too much. And then you need to go ahead and name your campaign. So it's really, really important you're as organized as possible. Trust me, when you have 100+ campaigns, if you're not organized with your naming structure, it can become an absolute nightmare. So I recommend going with the type of ad. So I'm gone for auto. I've gone for down only as the bidding strategy, and I've gone for 0.2 as the bid. And then you can just put the name of the book. So let's go for dinosaur coloring. And that's basically how I name this. So whenever I look into my ads console, I know, okay, this is an auto ad with a 20p down only bid for my dinosaur coloring book. Rather than just having random kind of words and names, that just gets confusing. Please be organized. And then you can choose exactly what portfolio you want your book to go into. Again, wouldn't worry about this too much as a beginner, but it basically just means you can organize all of your book and your advertising into portfolios. Leave the start and end dates exactly as you are, unless you want to have an end date to your advertising campaign. Literally every single one of my ads don't have an end date. They just kind of run as long as I want them to. And then you can just turn them off manually whenever you want. And then you set a daily budget. Now, this is one thing where a lot of people have a lot of questions in terms of their daily budgets. This is basically the maximum you are prepared to spend on your advertising campaign every single day. So I just go for £12 here. That's what it's suggesting. Again, this does by no means mean you will spend £12 on your ad campaign. How much you spend is completely dictated by your default bid. If this bid was something like £2, I'm going to win a lot of auctions and I'm going to get a lot of clicks, but I'm going to go to my budget quite quickly. So as you can see, once I increase my bid to £2, it therefore suggests a higher daily budget. So your daily budget is literally only there as a safety net. If you're being quite cautious with your default bid, you probably won't actually reach your daily budget. So if I have a default bid of 20p, it's very unlikely I'll get anywhere near this budget because 20p just isn't a very high bid. So it's entirely up to you how much daily budget you want to use. But just because you put £12 here, does not mean that every single day you will spend £12. Then once you're happy with that, all you'll want to do is go ahead and press launch campaign, and within 24 to 48 hours, your ad will be live on Amazon, and then you can start seeing all the data and how the ad is performing. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do all of that now. So up to this point, we have learned exactly what Amazon KDP ads are, how they work, why you need to use them, and we've actually created our first ad. Our ad is now live. We now need to understand exactly how our ad is performing and how we can monitor it. So within your Amazon ads console, you'll have the name of the campaign. So the example here would have been auto, down only 0.2 and dinosaur. So this is the specific campaign all of these metrics are referring to. You can see exactly how many impressions it got, how many clicks it got, the spend, the cost per click, the orders, the sales, the ACOS. Now these are generally the columns that I recommend that you select. In order to select these, all you want to do is go ahead and press this columns button, and it will basically give you a drop down of all of the different metrics that you can use. I recommend you always have these ones selected. And what I mean by this, if you just go into this columns button here and then go to customize columns, you can just select all the ones that you want to select. So you want to pause the video and just have the same ones that I've got selected here, then of course you can do that. These are the ones that I recommend you have selected. And the reasons I recommend you select these is because they tell you so much about what's actually going on with your ads. So I'm going to go through each of these ones individually and explain exactly what they mean and how you can monitor them. So I'm going to walk through each of these individual metrics through one by one. Now the reason why this is blurred out again is because it's the name of the campaign. It will actually give away the name of one of my books. And again, unfortunately, people just go ahead and copy my books, which I don't want. So that's why this is blurred out. But I'm going to be focusing specifically on each of these individual metrics. So let's start with impressions. So impressions are basically how many times your ad has been seen. So for this example here, this ad was seen 25,846 times. So I essentially won 25,846 auctions in which my ad was then actually seen. Now, a big problem that a lot of people have when it comes to advertising on Amazon KDP is they'll say, okay, well, I've got my campaign set up, but why is my ad not spending any money? And you can use your impressions to understand exactly what's going on here, because if your impressions are really low, it basically means people aren't seeing your ad. And the reason that you're not seeing your ad is because you're not winning enough auctions, and you're not winning enough auctions because your bids aren't high enough. So therefore, if your ad isn't spending and your impressions are super low, just go ahead and increase your default bid, and you should start to see your impressions slowly increase. Now, you're probably watching this thinking, Sam, what's a good number of impressions every single day? Unfortunately, there is no set answer. It depends on way too many variables, what your default bid is, how popular the niches that you're searching in, because really popular niches are naturally going to get a lot more searches per day. So there's no kind of set rule of what's a good number of impressions. You will generally over time get a feel for yourself and your books, just what a good number of impressions is. If you increase your default bid, your impressions will increase. So just do that until you're happy with the number of impressions that you're getting. Now, that's the first reason why your ad might not be spending, is just because your default bid is not high enough. But there is a possible situation where your bid is high enough, you're getting a lot of impressions, but it's still not spending any money. And if this is the case, this is because you're winning bids, your book is being shown to people, but people just aren't interested. So this is definitely more of a common cause with manual ads. Maybe you're targeting a keyword that actually isn't that related to your book, and therefore people are seeing it, but because it's not related to what they're actually searching in, they're not going to click it. So with Amazon auto ads, you're very unlikely to have this situation. It's mainly going to be this one, but I just wanted to include this in case any of you are using manual ads and you're coming across this issue too. So that's impressions. Now let's move on to clicks. Very straightforward. How many times your ad has been clicked. So in this example here, it was seen 25,846 times, and it was clicked 375 times. And this will allow you to understand if people actually want to buy your book. If I just go back to this example here, if your impressions are really high, but you're not spending any money, it means you're not spending any money because people aren't clicking into your ad. So in this example here, if I had 25,846 impressions, but 0 clicks, no one out of 25,000 people have clicked into my ad. So there's definitely something wrong with my book and where it's being placed, because people just aren't interested. So this is what I mean by if your clicks are really low, then you need to look at your impressions to understand what's going on. So by this, I mean, if your impressions are high and your clicks are low, it basically means people aren't interested in your book. But if your clicks are really low and your impressions are also really low, the reason why your clicks are low is because people just simply aren't seeing it, i.e. don't have an impression, and therefore, again, you need to increase your default bid. Now, I appreciate for a beginner, some of this stuff might be a little bit complicated at first, but trust me, it's actually quite straightforward, which is why I recommend watching this section specifically through a couple of times and just get really familiar with exactly the things that I'm talking about. And on the flip side of this example here, if your clicks are really high, but there are no sales, then it means people are seeing your ad, they're clicking into it, but they're therefore not buying it. And this is a problem with your book itself, because people, your book is probably the right match for a certain person. They've clicked into it, but for whatever reason, they've decided not to buy it. Now, and if this is quite a common occurrence, there's definitely an issue with your book. So I'd go into your book listing, improve its cover, improve just the overall listing altogether, and make it a much more appealing proposition to stop people going into your book and then clicking off into somebody else's. Now, again, as a beginner, don't worry too much about this kind of level of depth. Initially, this will kind of come naturally over time as you expose yourself to Amazon ads a bit more, but I just want to include it in here because it is really important. Now, the next metric to cover is spend, but it's actually a very, very straightforward one, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on this. This basically means how much you have spent in your ad. So for this example, we had 25,846 people see it, 375 people clicked it, and it means we spent £140.05. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of depth on spend because it's quite straightforward, but what is important here too is cost per click, and this helps you understand that spend number a bit better. Because cost per click essentially helps you understand the average spend per click. So if I look at this number here, I had 25,846 impressions, 375 people of this number clicked, and I spent £140.05, which means on average, I paid 37 pence per click. 37 pence times 375 is 140.05. So spend is quite an obvious and quite an easy metric to understand. Cost per click is a really interesting one because it allows you to see exactly how much you're spending for someone to click into your ad. And in this example, my cost per click was 37 pence. And it will also show you how your default bid is behaving. So for this example here, just please ignore these numbers at the top and just look at the numbers that I'm talking about down here. Let's just say you set up an ad campaign with a default bid of 20p with the down-only bidding strategy. Let's just say over time, your cost per click came back at 19 pence. So it's really pushing the upper bounds of that default bid. This basically would tell me that you're winning a lot of bids, but you're winning a lot of bids right at the top. So you could actually probably get away with bidding a little bit more money, maybe increasing this to 25p and your cost per click will probably increase because you're now telling your ad, okay, I'm happy to spend a little bit more money per click, but you should hopefully start getting a lot more clicks and therefore a lot more sales. So it's really important to look at your cost per click because it will basically show you if you need to increase your default bid a lot. If this cost per click with a default bid of 20p was something like 5 pence or 10 pence, this basically tells you that you're winning so many bids for way less than your default bid, and therefore you don't need to increase it. The next two metrics are pretty straightforward, orders and also sales. So orders, basically of these 375 people who clicked, how many orders did you get? And of all these 114 orders, what was your total sales number? Now the sales number is a sales number, not a royalties number. So I didn't make £817.83. That's the sale price of my book. So let's just say my book was £6.99. This sales number would basically be £6.99 times by the number of orders. I can't exactly remember in this example how much it cost, but this is a sales number. Just because you spent £140 doesn't mean you personally have got 817, because remember, you take a royalty cut of your sale price. Now you're probably thinking, how on earth do I calculate exactly how much I've taken back, or if my ad is even profitable, if it's not going to show me the royalty amount? And that is where this ACOS comes in. So ACOS stands for advertising cost of sale, and it's calculated by taking the spend of your ad, so 140.05, and dividing it by the sales number, timesing by 100. And it basically just means of this £817 worth of sales, what percentage of this amount did we spend on the ads? So for example here, if we got £817 worth of sales and we spent £140, £140 is 17.12% of this 817 sales number. Now don't get too bogged down into the specifics of exactly how this is calculated. Basically what you want to just use this ACOS number is it's the easiest way to establish the profitability of your book. So it basically means that rather than going in and manually having to do all the maths and remembering what royalty you got per book and then timesing that by the number of orders, and that's how much money you've actually made, ACOS allows you to understand this literally in a couple of seconds just by looking at this number. So the first thing you want to do to actually understand your ACOS is to calculate your break-even ACOS. So basically the number that this ACOS shows where you're actually breaking even. And the best way to do this is to take your book royalty and divide it by your book sale price. So let's just say I listed a book for £6.99 on Amazon, and every single time that book sold, I made £2.49 back in royalties. I would take that book royalty of £2.49, divide that by my book sale price of £6.99, giving me a break-even ACOS of 35.6%. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this now scratching their heads, being really confused at the maths. Again, this looks a lot more complicated than it is. You just need to look and do the maths. Book royalty divided by sale price. This is your break-even ACOS. And then if your ACOS in any of your ad campaigns is below this number, then you are profitable. So in this example here, my ACOS is 17.12%. So it's a really low ACOS, which means it's a very profitable ad campaign. So I can look at this straight away, and because I know my break-even ACOS is 35.6%, as long as this number is below 35.6%, this ad is profitable. If this ACOS was putting through at something like 50%, I would know, okay, because that's higher than my break-even ACOS, I am losing more money than this ad is actually gaining me. So that's how you calculate break-even ACOS. Again, these kind of metrics can be a little bit confusing, especially if you're a beginner. So I recommend going through and watching this specific section a couple of times until you're fully aware of exactly what is going on. But I promise you, it's a lot more straightforward to understand than it might seem at first glance. And this is also taken from that KDP Ads Mastery course that I mentioned a second ago. Feel free to screenshot, save this if you want to. And this basically gives you a little bit more information about all these different ad metrics and how they interact. Now, don't, again, get too overwhelmed by all of this, especially if you're a beginner. But if you do want to know, I'll just walk you through this very quickly. But essentially, it shows how all of these different metrics interact. Now, I've touched on a couple of them here. So impressions, how many times your ad was seen. Clicks, how many times of those 1,000 people here clicked into your ad. So if you had 20 clicks from 1,000 impressions, that will give you what's known as a click-through rate of 2%, which basically means of these 1,000 people, 2% of people actually clicked, because 20 is 2% of 1,000. If you then had 20 clicks and you spent £15, that's where your cost per click that I mentioned earlier is calculated from. So if you had 20 clicks and your spend was £15, you would have a cost per click of 75p, because 75p times 20 is £15. And then finally, you have the ACOS. So if I spent £15 and I got £100 worth of sales, this would give me an ACOS of 15%, because 15 is obviously 15% of 100. So that's exactly how these metrics work. Now, again, this might be quite a lot of information to take in as a beginner, but I did want to include it because it is really important to ultimately eventually get to the point where you do understand these metrics. I could keep everything extremely top level and extremely simple, but those aren't the things that are actually really going to make the difference with your ads. This is the kind of stuff that's really going to make a difference. So that is everything you need to know to really start seeing some progress and some success with your Amazon KDP ads, especially if you're a beginner. So there you go. There is a complete step-by-step guide to how to start and launch an Amazon KDP business in 2026 and beyond, and crucially, how to make your first $1,000 self-publishing on Amazon KDP. Now, I'm just going to go very quickly back to the start of this video where I showed you this Winning KDP system, and this is the exact system that we have walked through in this video. I'm just going to recap it again, just so you know exactly why you're doing the things you're doing. So step one, the first thing we covered is niche research. This is essentially researching on Amazon and using tools to identify where the opportunities are. Remember, searching for what customers are actually searching for. Is there enough demand for that? If there is, then have a look to see if these books are selling. And then finally, try and find your own unique way into these kind of busy niches where you have your own route and much less competition, and you can also justify a slightly higher price with a higher quality book. That's what niche research is all about. We then moved on to step two, which is actually creating the book. And we used a tool called Kittle to create coloring books extremely easily and crucially extremely affordably. Loads of people who are beginners to Amazon KDP are going to be creating things like line journals and notebooks, and you're not going to be competing against any of these people because you're producing coloring books which not only are significantly higher quality, you can also charge way more for them and make a lot more money. So other beginners are going to be stuck making line journals that literally don't sell. And thanks to Kittle making, AI coloring books so much easier to create, you're going to be so many steps ahead most other beginners at this point. So that is step two, creating the book. We then went to step three, which is optimizing our book listing. So we uploaded the book to Amazon. I showed you how to get keywords in your title, how to format your description properly, and how to fill in your backend 7 keyword boxes. Again, we heavily relied on self-publishing titans for a lot of that data there. That will essentially boost our organic ranking. Step 4, we then moved on to how to get reviews for our book. So I used Book Bounty and showed you exactly how you can use that tool to get reviews on your Amazon KDP book, which essentially increases your conversion rate and means more people who land on your book will end up buying your book and you'll just make a lot more money. And then finally, advertising your book. So how to use Amazon ads to get your book in front of the right customers. Super in-depth video going through exactly how to do that. And the reason why this is after getting reviews on your book, because if you have 100 people who land on your book listing from ads and that book has a few reviews on it, you're going to get way more sales from that example than you are if you have 100 people landing on your book with no reviews, which is why advertising your book is step 5 and getting reviews on your book is step 4. And then the final step, make money and repeat. If you follow these steps, that is a book that you can sell on Amazon KDP that genuinely has potential to make you money. Everyone watching this video is going to be a different part. Some people will have a bit of experience from this. Some people will be completely starting from new. So you just have to keep repeating this process. There is only so much that someone can tell you. You sometimes do have to learn by doing. So don't expect your first book to be a bestseller or to make you thousands every single month. You have to see this as a 6 to 12 month project and really put the time in to learn what goes right, what doesn't go right, and really double down on the things that are working. But if you follow this system, you are much more likely to find that sooner rather than later. So simply just repeat this process, learn every single time you do it, and before you know it, you will have made your first $1,000 from Amazon KDP. And once you've done that and you're feeling a lot more comfortable, then you're probably ready to check out my advanced Amazon KDP course, which I will leave linked on screen now for you to go ahead and check out. But I would recommend only doing this once you've made your first $1,000, because there are some quite advanced and confusing things in that video. Definitely stick to this. This system definitely works to get you to your first 1,000. Once you've done that, you can then move on to the advanced course. But as I say, any questions you have, let me know down in the comment section below. And thank you for watching this video.